Hi everybody, and welcome back to another extra special Hobby Titans. I'm joined by our suspiciously consistent guest, Kat. Kat, how's it going?
Suspiciously well.
Suspiciously good.
Yeah.
To hear.
Awesome.
Speaking of suspicious, we are both up to something suspicious today. In that we are, this is kind of funny, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We are just going to paint these minis from the, we'll show you guys the box in a second. I thought it had like a name, but each one is just the name of the unit plus paint. That's what it's called. I'll show you what I mean in a second. I promise I'm not making that marketing up. But the catch here is that we got the box. I assembled the models, primed the models, and now we're going to paint them using only the stuff that is given to us.
Yes.
Which is 6 paints, one of which is a basing technical paint.
Yeah, the Sterling mud or whatever, yeah.
So really 5 paints.
5 colors to work with,
and a maybe okay brush. We'll find out.
I don't know if okay is the adjective I would use for this brush. But it is technically a brush.
It is a brush. That's actually what I'm most excited about is seeing what we can get out of this brush.
Yeah.
We also want to do it within 2.5 hours. So we're gonna get started. Let's get started. Let's get creative. Okay, here they are. Once again, just like last week, not rotating. So, Kat will be doing what you see in the front, the Vindictors plus paint set, and I will be doing the Gut Rippas and paints, which fans of Titans programming will be shocked because I'm traditionally known to hate orcs, which is not true. I actually like orcs, but I've said some things.
Some hot takes?
I've had some hot orc takes.
That's
in the past.
very surprising.
So let's talk about what we each have.
Let's talk about what didn't come in the box.
Okay.
First of all, which was obviously hobby tools to assemble it. Tools. Yeah, no primer either. Primer. And you'll notice that mine is glossy. I don't know if you can tell, but
we'll zoom in there.
I asked Zach to prime mine glossies since these guys are very metallic, and I like painting metallics on top of glossy black surfaces. It just makes the metallic lay down a little bit smoother.
Yeah,
so.
It does.
Yeah.
I just did it with a project I'm getting going on here that we'll talk about a little bit today, and Kat is not wrong. It made a world of difference. So Kat's has been primed with, I actually included the link of the exact primer. As always, the links are underneath. You guys can see them. And so the links you're gonna see are the links for these 2 products, okay? And then you'll see the links for the
primers.
The 2 primers.
Yeah.
I did Airbrush prime, Vallejo Gloss Black for Kat, Vallejo Non-Gloss Black for me. And they technically really do not need glue. They are push fit. I will say a couple things about that though. They are pretty good push fits.
Okay.
However, it maybe would have benefited. I think I mostly got it. They mostly had like mold line, or not mold lines, where the pieces went together.
Some gaps.
Gaps. They mostly did it. At least yours I think are okay. For mine, it's mostly kind of like lines up with a piece of cloth or something.
Yeah, they're usually
clever.
pretty good about hiding them. My issue with push fit stuff for like Games Workshop specifically, because they did mostly do, I think, all push fit stuff for, at least for the Space Marines in the, what was the new starter set for 40K? It starts with an I.
Indomitus?
There you go.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That was kind of a guess.
They did. There you go. Yeah. They did push fit for those, and when I was assembling that for the store's demo copy, I found that if you cut the push fit pegs a little bit, you don't get as much gapping because what happens is air gets trapped in
when you're like going in,
when you shove it in there, and so when you cut them, it goes together really smoothly. But then that also means that you might have to glue them. Yeah,
and I think I did use glue in some circumstances on these guys. So no hobby tools, no glue. I would say that that's a fair point. Kat brought up was let's talk about what we didn't use.
Yep.
Because I did have to use, there were a little bit of mold lines. Actually, not too bad.
Okay.
And I did use sanding sticks, which I should also put in the links. But you guys have seen us use those before. Brett loves those. We use them on the stream. I didn't use like the Citadel mold line remover tool, anything like that. I think you could probably find something around the house. That's kind of the theme for today. Like, how far can you go with like
just this one box?
Just this box.
Yeah. So obviously, you need some clippers, and some primer. Yeah. But other than that, honestly, I've used my nail to scrape down mold lines and stuff too. It depends on how bad they are.
Or you could use a nail filer, maybe.
Yeah.
Even. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So just something. Yeah.
So yeah, let's talk about what's in each box. What's in your box, Kat? Let's look at this.
So my 5 colors, right? Because we have the Sterling Mud Technical Paint, which is a textured paint made to go on the bases of it.
Yep.
But other than that, I have Retributor Armor. I have Cantor Blue. I have Corax White. And I have Lead Belcher, and then for a shade, I have Agrax Earth Shade, which I was very excited about this because, this is talent in a bottle here. Any mistakes that I make, I can probably hide with this.
Okay, and I'm actually just realizing as you're pulling those out, I'll show you guys what I have here. As Kat was pulling those out, I'm realizing that these are actually all base paints except for the technical, which we both have the same one, the mud. I also have Agrax, cool. And then I have Lead Belcher, which is actually just nice. I'm actually just happy to get all these base paints because they're kind of, I don't know.
They're useful.
I do like Citadel base paints.
Yeah, I find that Lead Belcher is the first thing that sells out anyway, so.
Yeah, Lead Belcher is big. I have Steel Legion Drab. I have Auroch Flesh, appropriately. And I have Mephiston Red. And I actually think that the colors that they've given are clever because you have white. That's like immediately interesting.
Yeah.
To do stuff with. I can mix red into green.
To make a brown. But you already have a brown.
I already have a brown, but more so I think if I'm careful, I can just get this to be a little darker at first before it starts truly looking brown. We're gonna see how that goes for me.
I mean, yeah, definitely.
So that's kind of my first plan. The brush. I don't know. We don't have a lot to say about the brush right away.
I don't have a lot of good things to say about it. I think even just comparing our 2 brushes, you can see how different they are from each other. They're still technically both starter brushes, but this one's mine. It's a lot shorter, and it's also a lot fatter as well too, which was interesting. And then they were both very stiff in the box.
They were very stiff. I was worried about how stiff they were, actually. Do you... I will trade with you one. I know you're not going to want to do that, but the option's there. And do you think it's because your models are bigger, or do you think it's just like a weird shipping thing?
I think honestly, it's just a manufacturer quality control thing. I don't think that there's a whole lot of quality control going on with their starter brushes.
It even feel... Did you notice it's like...
It feels weird too. It feels very different.
Yeah.
So, at least they gave you a brush, but it's different.
Which not cool, by the way, for their own purposes. I'm sure it's a money saving thing. It's plastic. It's not like wooden like the normal ones, right?
Are the normal ones? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The normal ones can't do this.
How much? Okay. I was gonna say how much you're bending it is very surprising.
I think that's gonna be okay. Good thing it broke where it did.
Yeah.
And not further. Okay, so I've already handicapped myself a little bit, but I think now you probably definitely.
I think my handicap here is not knowing anything about these models, so I'm gonna need that box.
Oh yeah, let's get the boxes, both of us. Here are the Vindictors. Now, one thing that I will also say. I'm actually mostly very excited for this, so I don't want to be negative here. But one thing I will say is Vindictors, I think, come in units of 3 minimum when you're playing Age of Sigmar, which means this box is somewhat
You get 2.
You get 2.
Yeah.
And we know that Gut Rippers come in groups of 5, and you get 3. So that is a little off-brand actually for them, because they typically like to give you something that you can play.
Then turn around and play with? Okay.
Yeah. And more weirdly is just that since I have 3, I'd actually have to buy 5 boxes of these to get 15 to have
5 boxes of the paint set.
Yeah.
But why would you do that?
Why would I do
yeah,
that,
so,
right? Yeah. So you're gonna end up with some extra dudes in kind of a weird way. Okay. Well, I'm ready to get started. You ready to get started?
Yeah. Oh, there's instructions on the back.
There are instructions on the back.
That's actually instructions for assembly. I see.
Which
but
was helpful.
It does point out where the colors are.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought it was very interesting that they included a technical rather than include a different paint color. So that's interesting. But I think what a lot of it is that they want you to use a good variety of what they have to offer, and if they don't put a technical in here, then maybe, people wouldn't really think about basing their stuff. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, in some ways I like it for 2 reasons. One, I sort of like that if you look at the guy on the back of these and on the front, you're like, hey, you know what? If I can actually pull that off, that doesn't look half bad. It's like battle ready. It's like if you showed up to an event and you saw an army that would paint it like this, you'd be like, oh, okay, like, cool.
It has paint.
Yeah, it has paint. That they've done a little shading. They've done
it's recognizable.
Maybe not much highlighting, but they've done some shading with the agrax. So I kind of like them showing how with 5 paints you can at least get the color palette down.
Yeah.
If not all the techniques. And I think that's probably what it's about. As you guys can see, also a pro tip here, Kat and I are using the plastic that comes with it as our palette. We did not want to use wet palettes because we kind of want to...
That's not included in this. But also we will go over like what we feel like would be the next steps after getting this box.
Right.
So...
Okay, so I just tried to mix a little bit of red into green, and it's red now. So I'm going to have to just add more green. We'll see. What I'm doing here is... I do want to be able to do highlighting, so I actually want this color I want to be able to highlight up to it. Now, they did give me the brown, right?
Yeah. Pro tip when you are mixing a darker color into a lighter color, and if you...
I think I know where this is going.
I was gonna say, make sure when you put more green down that it's like separate, because you want to mix like only a little bit of that red paint.
Yeah, I don't probably need all this, right? Bringing the red in, she's right. Bringing the red in
rather than the green into the red.
Exactly, is going to be the move. Okay, so this way, by kind of mixing these a little bit right away, I can get. It's gonna obviously red and green are gonna turn brown, but if I'm just like careful and I don't use too much red, then I can get kind of a more like a dark green. At the very least, something that I can highlight up with the actual, because I don't have white, right? So Kat has white. She might be able to play around with that a little bit. I have to go down and then come back up to this as my top color.
Yeah, I think you painting skin, you're going to have, a more difficult time, which I think will be fun to watch.
Will be fun to see, yeah. Okay, we have some super chats, which is super cool. Starting off with that one guy. Thanks, that one guy. He says, looking to paint nautical sunken themed for my next project. That one guy, if you're in the chat, tell us exactly what that next project is. That'll help me answer your question, probably help Kat answer your question. But he goes on to say, what color shades would you use and how would you get the rust verdigris effect? I have a lot of thoughts on this because, 2 reasons. One, I have been advising people to paint a nautical themed army for months now because, I don't know, I just think it's cool. And also I have, if you guys fans of the show will know that I went literally through a verdigris stage in my life last summer and early fall, where I did a ton of copper verdigris, and even revisited a little bit in the winter a few weeks back when I did Kragnos. So, Kat, that said, I could gab about this all day. What are you thinking?
Well, first of all, my question then would be to be like, did you want it to look like it was underwater, or did you want it to look like it was some sort of like salt licked, kind of like beachy, almost washed ashore look? Because those would be two different things. One of them would be a very pale green, almost lichen color. And the other one would be more in maybe like a cerulean, like greenish blue, like deeper, more vibrant colors. So if you're looking for almost like kind of like a washed ashore look, which I think would be really awesome, my first color recommendation would be like a pale green. And then some sort of like off-white to get some cool like salt crustings and stuff. I think that would be really cool. But then you gotta bring in, I don't know, maybe some like cool tone browns or something. Really definitely like sun bleached, waterlogged, you know, faded would be the color that I would go for, the palette that I would be going for.
And I think like I agree with Kat, what she's saying about, I think like almost, one, you want to define it a little bit, right? And I haven't checked chat to see if he's updated this at all, but you want to define it a little bit, like she's saying, like what kind of nautical look, because it's true, like if you're painting a Deepkin army, and they're blue, and you want to have blue, and you want to have like things like Harlequins, he said. Okay, that's super cool. Then I think like for me the color palette of like nautical stuff is blues, greens, and kind of like a lot in between there, right? Like the family of blue, green, from blue to green, everybody in between blue and green.
Yeah, I mean, I think the vibrancy of it kind of just depends on what you're going for as well too. Like if you make it very washed out, it's going to look like almost, you know, like they were washed ashore, you know, they're sun bleached, they're salt crusted, everything like that. If you make it super vibrant, then it's going to look like, you know, they're like currently in the ocean, and or, you know, they live by the sea, something like that.
But I think, like you said, it's like blue green, and then like sands and bones.
Yeah, like
and browns, right? It's like a good kind of
like linen, ivory,
yeah.
Like a light brown, stuff like that. It just kind of depends on what you're going for, and also like what you're painting. Because my memory of Harlequins, that doesn't really match up to like ocean stuff, but it'd be kind of cool to see what that would be looking like, you know, once you get a color palette going, and like once you get a figure painted. I really would like to see that, because I think that's very unique.
Yeah. We actually we had a vote in Titans over at Tabletop Titans about what new army to get going that the studio should paint. And I posted my first work on that army, which is Alpha Legion. And they're maybe I can show kind of where I'm at later. They're behind us here. And the colors we're describing are literally what I've done. Blues, greens, browns, and bone, kind of a medley.
Nice.
So good luck, that one guy, and please show us that. Post us in the Discord, because like Kat, I would like to see that.
Yeah, or unless you're going for like a more pirate-looking thing, then obviously, I think just random scraps of fabric and stuff, and making them look very patchwork. That could definitely get a pirate look going. Obviously, I think everyone associates like, you know, skull and bones with pirates, but like red and white checkered bandanas and stuff, I think would be kind of cool. But
that actually could be cool. Yeah, and if you're trying to do any kind of checker pattern, what would you do? What would you do if they're trying to do like the what is that called? The diamond pattern. It has a name. Anyway, if you're trying to do like a pattern on your Harlequins, but keep it nautical.
I think really you could just do whatever you want, but then like the colors that surround it should stick to your theme. So you could do black and teal, would be a fun nautical thing, or a red and white checkered pattern, as long as it doesn't look like a picnic table. I think you can honestly do whatever you want to do. And I wouldn't stick with like true whites. You know, you want it to look like they're worn
Right.
and they're dirty. So I would go with like an ivory or like a bone color.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, good luck, that one guy. And like we said, please share with us. Thank you, Willow. Willow says, hey, folks, Melody and I are watching along tonight, and I can't decide on a scheme for the upcoming Aldari project. Any ideas to get her moving? Well, I'm assuming here you mean a Suryani, like Craft World Eldar. And I'm going to scroll down to get any kind of
Further details.
For any details. But my instinct then would be to ask if you are trying to go for a particular craft world. Because going for a particular craft world is kind of cool in a way because it can give you a jumping off point. Not that you guys have seen my Sim Han on the channel. That's what actually Kat, when we did the wraiths, we did the red guy.
Yeah,
so,
okay.
And they are normally much more vibrant, like red, and mine are a little more pastel. So like you can do kind of like a variation, and it can actually be a good. I find it can be like a good like place to start. Like if you have no idea what color you want to paint something, it can be kind of nice to just say, cool. Well, this faction, they're normally green, so like at least I want to somewhere start around there, right?
Right.
You've been in the game store for a while.
Mm-hmm.
How do you like your Eldar painted? How do you like your Space Elves painted?
Painted.
Painted. You don't have like a preference on colors?
No, not at all. To me, if something is painted, it's. I mean, we've discussed this before. Of like, it almost shows just like a level of mutual respect between you and the other person. Mm-hmm. So like, the fact that you put paint on it, you get a win. To me, in my eyes, it doesn't really matter, what kind of level painter you are. I mean, obviously, the more work you put into it, then it's even better. But I don't.
You have color preferences.
Yeah, I don't have color preferences. I like very bright colors, like saddled up with dark colors. But I like highly contrasting colors as well too. So like green and purple. A lot of people do turquoise and purple. Mm-hmm. I want to say blue and orange.
Yep.
Are really good. I like that a lot. So anything that is just a pop, either whether or not it's like, a little bit of brightness on a lot of dark colors, or it's just completely contrasting. It almost looks neon. What's that? I think it's called like vaporwave, where it's like a really strong blue with a really strong pink.
Right. Yeah.
I like that a lot too.
Yeah. I'm a big vaporwave color scheme fan. I will say that, Melody, I see you in chat. What do you have a specific? Let us know if you have a specific like craft world you're going for, or if you want to kind of keep it. It could also be the case that you want to keep it craft world free, so that you have different options of how to play them down the road. I'm going to zoom in on Kat while I wait for that response, and I'm going to just say that very much the case that the color I've made is very similar to the color that they gave me. To the point that I might actually try on my final orc to see what happens if. Well, I'll put some down here and get a look and see how it compares. Okay. Melody doesn't want to pick a
Craft world.
pick a craft world necessarily.
Yeah, don't limit yourself.
Yeah. I'm with Kat, and that you guys have seen my Suryani army. You've seen my Tau army, and in general, I do also like brighter colors, and I don't want my models to get lost on a terrain board when I'm playing the game, and terrain is usually like dark or medium at least. So I'm with her on that, and I also am with her that I like a kind of contrast in that I'll typically pick a bright color. In the case of my Suryani, they're red and white, and then I have like this like Cantor blue,
Pop of blue,
which
yeah.
is like the kind of dark blue stripe. But I think for Eldar, one of the things I think about when I paint any Xenos army is what traditionally does the Imperium look like in 40K? And they don't actually use a lot of colors outside of Space Marines who have a particular way that they use color, which is like, these are the yellow Space Marines, so they're yellow, right? So I kind of think like a couple things I would encourage you to do is get a color palette app tool. Do you use one of these, Kat?
No.
I have one I use. I'll look and see what the name of it is here in a second. It's on my phone. I have one that I use, and I've shown this to you guys before on stream, I think. And I will always kind of test out palettes, test out color schemes for different armies. Here, I'll show you guys real quick. Let me pull it up here.
See, I usually will find a picture of something that I really like.
Right.
And or because I have just a plethora of paints, I'll go through and I'll open up my briefcase of paints and I'll pick a color that I really, really, really like. Okay, this is the one color that I like. And then I'll just run that color down the rows of all these other colors that I have.
Yeah.
And just find whichever one most appeals to me with that color. And then I'll try to build like a triad of colors. Triad of colors.
I mean, maybe that's a way to pronounce it. I don't know.
Yeah. And then I'll go from there. Like a 3 to me makes a good color palette. And then you then pick, okay, well, this is my medium color. I'm going to pick a dark color to that. Like if I were to pick a red, then I do, okay, well, this is my dark red. This is my light red.
Okay.
And I'll go from there. And then if I'm going to do a blue, this is my dark blue. This is my light blue. And so that helps you pick how cool or how warm you want that specific color to be eventually on that palette. And then you just group everything together. If it looks good, then it looks good. If, you know, to you feel like you need to switch something out, then you can switch something out. I like that, but I also have never heard of a color palette app. And maybe that is so much simpler than that method.
Well, I got a new phone not too recently, and I just logged into the app, which it works. I can still show you guys. But all my palettes are gone, and then they have like a note about reaching out to them if all your palettes are suddenly missing. So I guess I'll have to do that.
Oh,
but that's okay because all the palettes I had were for things I already did. So I didn't have any palettes that I was like
currently using.
Well, that's not true. But I bought all the paints already. I'm good.
Fair.
So like. You go to new collection. Oh no, they're still here. Okay, cool. They are here. So the one I use is called Pocket Palette, and you can see I have some palettes here. And if you want to do a new one, you just do that, and then you can select if you want 3, 5 colors. I think Kat's right. I actually usually make 5 color palettes, but it's like at least 2 of the colors are variants on another one.
Right.
And then, but I like the kind of idea, Melody in general. My concept is, she wants me to pick exact colors, so here we go. I'm going to say orange, dark blue, and bone. Or you can replace the dark blue with... Okay, that's if you want the contrast. Orange, dark blue, bone. If you want more of like a monotone kind of a thing, do orange, red, like scarlet. No, not scarlet. Yeah, like scarlet. Orange, scarlet, and bone. So it's like very warm. Those are my two. What do you pick? What using your 3 color?
I'm gonna go for indigo.
Which is like
a really
dark blue, right?
like a dark teal.
Okay.
There's a specific paint. It's like Prussian blue or something.
Oh yeah.
And I'm gonna go for. I think it's like an orangey red. And then like a fluorescent pink.
Okay, that's cool too. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. So there you go. Three ideas. I like cats better, but I think you're gonna need either like white or bone or something else in that mix. I guess not, but I feel like usually, like when you're talking about the 3 main colors, I'm kind of thinking, I'm like, oh yeah, that's exactly what I do. Except for me, I almost think of it as 2 main colors, and then like what type of white am I using?
Some sort of accent.
Yeah, like what type of white or black or something am I using? Usually white, right?
Fair. Yeah. And like all this talk about like bright colors and stuff, I'm currently in the middle of painting my Conquest army. And I just got the big apex predator, and I'm painting him to look like a raven.
So very dark, yeah.
Very dark. But he has a really bright pop of like a peachy bone-ish color on his face. So I still have that bright pop, but he is very dark, yes.
Okay, good. Use black as if you're gonna if you're talking about based white or black. I priming white is or base coat. I would do black. White is specific.
If you're gonna do very bright colors, I would do white.
Oh really?
Yeah, because painting up from black, sometimes you just add way too many layers onto something.
Oh, you know what else? It depends if you're airbrushing also, Melody. If you're airbrushing, you can pretty much. I just always use black.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. But if you're hand painting,
then yeah. Okay.
Then do white. If you're gonna do very bright colors.
Good point.
But if you're gonna do predominantly darker colors, then I like black a lot, because then that way it just kind of looks like a shadow almost.
Okay, fair point. Yes. Okay, how are you doing? Where are you at? Let's take a look.
I think I've got most of the gold down, at least on like the body of the armor. I have to go over it in some places. It's kind of thin here, but I'm trying to wait and be patient until it dries, so that way I'm not just like mushing the paint around.
I was gonna say that one thing Citadel base paint does that's really interesting is it, even after you add some water to it, which is the only thing we have here to thin, it surprises you when it dries.
Yeah.
Frequently, I'm like, oh, I'm definitely gonna need a second layer, or like, which I'm still going to need, but like, I assume like my first layer is just a hot mess sometimes, and then I look after it kind of dries. I'm like, oh,
it's not as bad as I thought it was
I
gonna
thought,
be. Yeah. So I'm trying to be patient, but I'm also, we're trying to get it done. So. Yeah.
Yeah, this is new for you. How you feeling about 2 models in 2.5 hours?
2. All right.
You were just painting the one.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, let's do this. No, I think I can do it, honestly. I'm trying to be better about painting faster, not being so picky, but it's also like I'm trying not to get the gold in any place that I would paint the white, because that's very important to me, because I'm not trying to do a million layers.
But that's it, right? Like if you know what will cost you time or cost you like something you can avoid that will cost you quality, then you can do it, right?
Yeah.
And you can make the calls, and you can say, well, if I skip this step, I don't lose a ton. And I maybe get my army out a week ahead of time over the course of like a whole army or whatever. So, I mean, I think that's a fair point. Like looking and saying like, what happens if I do get some paint over this part, right? But you maybe don't want to like be trying to cover
I'm not trying to cover metallic gold with Corax white,
Right.
which notoriously kind of has pretty bad coverage
Right.
to begin with.
And I'm not, like, frequently for me, after I've done, if I'm doing a model has a lot of skin on it, and then I'm going back and doing like their straps on them or something like that, I'm super careful because usually I've achieved the skin with like 4 or 5 layers of an airbrush.
Yeah.
And the second I have to do cleanup with a brush, it's going to be a little bit more opaque. It's going to be in that one spot. There's going to be this extra layer of that top color. It's going to be like, right? So like there I'm careful, right? But there are other places where I'm like, look, if I airbrush right here, it's going to throw a little bit of white out. It's going to get a little bit on his muscle over here, and that's probably going to be okay. It's probably going to be a highlight more than an accidental highlight. That
Yeah, fair. I mean, that also takes into consideration like the steps that you take when you are painting a miniature. One thing that I was told of like, okay, well, what do you paint first on a miniature? And it's almost like you want to paint it like it's getting dressed. And so you start with the bare skin because if you get the skin, yes, we all put our skin on.
Every morning we wake up
one leg at a time.
From our vat, from our giant vat of Vaseline.
We slide out.
We slide out into our into our skin sacks.
Yeah. So so you start with the skin, and because if you get the skin color on any of the clothing, then that way when you go to do that cape or something, that's the last thing that you're putting on, and so all you have to do is just avoid the skin. And you're okay. Okay,
but question, and this is actually pertinent to exactly what's happening right now for me. I've now completed all my orc's skin. And my instinct is actually not to now, well, maybe I didn't let you finish, but my instinct I was going to say is I'm not going to do any more steps on the skin. I'm going to move on to the next layer because I kind of like the ability to go back and forth a little bit to adjust mistakes, right? So like, I'm going to now do the cloth that they have on them.
Yeah, I mean, a big part of miniature painting is knowing how to fix any mistakes, right? Like, no one I think is perfect when they are painting, like, and when they're trying to go like, okay, they're trying to put the base paint on like a shirt, right? And then it's like the sculpt doesn't give you that like distinct pull away of a sleeve or something.
Which is to be fair, because we have ripped a little bit on this box from Citadel, but I actually do think that's something Citadel models tend to do quite well.
Yeah, they are very good at in their sculpts, letting you know what is armor, what is skin, what is what.
When you're painting sometimes like a D&D like Reaper mini or something, you're like, did this cape just turn into a boot?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So when you're blocking out colors like that, where it's not so perfectly well defined, you're not going to get that like immediate ridge. You're going to make mistakes no matter what, right?
Yeah.
And so a lot of miniature painting is learning how to fix those mistakes. So there is a lot of back and forth, but if you can avoid it as much as possible, then avoid it as much as possible. Take your time is essentially what I'm trying to harp on, right? Like if I were to just slather this all with gold paint and I get it onto something that I don't want to get it onto, then I'm going to be even more frustrated when I go back in to cover that up later.
Right. And there are, like you're saying, I've learned definitely that there are like areas you can mistakes that are like not bad, like whatever, I'm going to have to do this like on 50 little dudes. I'm going to have to go and this little black got over here on this dark purple, and I'm gonna have to like. There are mistakes that you can live with, and you're kind of learning. And this is kind of one of the cool things about army painting is that as you go through and paint an army, you're gonna learn where you need to be careful and where you can save time. And frankly, rush, right?
Yeah.
Thank you, Super Reedy. He says, "Hi peeps. As an avid proponent of hand brushing, okay, I just don't have room for an airbrush. I've been looking forward to this." Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, and every time I come on here, like I always try to be like, no, I'm not going to airbrush because not everyone has an airbrush. I'm going to, do that. But like it was also another thing where I started off airbrushing and I kind of painted myself into a handicap where I didn't have any brush skills, so that when I did have to go back and clean up any mistakes that I had made, it was it was a nightmare. Like I hated it. And yeah, I think brush skills, hand brush skills are very, very, very important. Airbrushing is great if you know how to airbrush really well. That's fantastic. It saves you a lot of time, but it's not necessary. And I always want to reiterate that, like,
which is weird to think about, right? But it is true. It's technically not necessary. Whereas using a brush is going to probably have to happen one way or the other, right?
I mean, if you're miniature, if you can dunk your paints and I guess you can dunk your miniatures in paints.
I guess not, but kind of, right? Yeah,
you know, you can. I don't know if you can get away with like the 3-color rule, but you know, maybe dip an arm here, dip a head there, but it's not necessary to have an airbrush to be good at painting and to have a good miniature and to have one that you're really proud of. You don't need an airbrush. It doesn't automatically make you, you know, X times better. Having a really cool car doesn't automatically make you a better driver. It's all about practice.
Well, I have a question for you based on where we're at. And we're going to talk a little bit towards the end of the show of things we think a hand brusher should get, or what you would add to what we've used here. Here's my question, Kat. We're about actually pretty kind of into this more than I admit I would like to be.
We did have a pretty long intro.
We did have an intro. So here's my question. Now that you've going a little bit here, tell me one thing you wish you had.
A better brush.
A better brush.
A better brush. I snuck it in there a little bit when the camera wasn't pointing at me, but I did take the pair of scissors, and I had a stray hair that was like way longer than everything else. That's okay. And it was curling out, and I cut it off.
You did not violate our rule, because most people will have scissors at home.
Okay, cool. So, you know.
So you still only used what is in the box.
I am trying to only use what is available to me. I'm finding that my gold paint is drying really weirdly. I wish I had a wet palette. That'd be really cool. But I think my number one thing
would be the brush.
Would be a brush.
Okay. Well, I am honestly thinking I might be actually doing okay with my brush, and maybe, like we said, maybe we established my brush is ever so slightly better. But I might actually reverse the order of what you said. I think first I might pick a wet palette.
Okay.
And then second I might pick a brush. Because I am really coming into this paint a lot with water. I don't always like how that makes it feel. I will say this though, and this is a good thing. One of the reasons you and I want to do this, I have gotten better in the 43, well, we haven't been painting for 43 minutes, but in the 25 minutes we've been painting, I have start to get the feel for it.
Nice.
To say oh, okay, this is how, it doesn't actually need that much water. I've been using too much. I'm also kind of letting it spread out all over my plastic, which is a bad thing because it's drying faster.
Yep.
So I need to kind of keep it together.
Yeah, that's one thing that I do a lot with my wet palettes is I spread my paints out a lot. Mm-hmm. And thankfully now I have the extra large wet palette, but it was getting a problem with smaller wet palettes. And so I've been consciously trying not to spread my paints out as much as I used to. Because I was having that issue too, where even on a wet palette, if you spread your paints out too much, they do dry.
Yep.
So.
And then you're like, wait, what?
Yeah. Thankfully,
is my wet palette broken?
Yeah. Thankfully, you can sometimes go back in and reactivate it, but I am the type of person who goes back and forth between a bunch of different colors and will touch a bunch of different things on a miniature. And so I'll be switching from painting, the leather straps on something to painting the cape next. And so being able to go back and forth between all my paints on my wet palette and have them not be dry is important to me. So yeah, I've been trying to consciously make sure I don't do that.
Be a better wet palette user?
Be just a better painter in general, but yes.
Yeah. But I don't know about you, but I kind of find that's how I have to become a better painter. Is be like, oh, don't spread my paint out all over the place because it'll dry, and kind of like one step at a time, you know.
Yeah.
We get into our skin sacks one leg at a time, just like everybody else.
Just like everybody else.
Thank you, Broken Chef. So good talk about color theory. I'm currently stuck. Fire Slayers. Fire Slayers, as we've chatted about here on the channel before, I think Adrian, Brad, and I are of the opinion that it is inherently an army that is tough to pick a color palette for, because it is a bunch of half-naked dwarves, traditionally with red hair. And now you can change the hair color up and you can change the skin colors up and stuff. But GWs, they almost have the same skin color and they all have the same hair color. And it becomes kind of this blob of flesh. I will say, even when I see an awesomely painted Fire Slayers army, I'm almost never that impressed. I'm just like, I don't like what's going on here.
Okay.
Broken Chef goes on to say, emerald, yellow, green flame, and hair, tanned flesh, but gold, silver, or obsidian. So he's going to do green, emerald, yellow, green flame, and hair. They have a lot of fire. They're similar to the guy I painted last week, right? Like, but their hair is not actually fire.
Oh, okay.
They're
green, tan. I would go with obsidian.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, because so the emerald yellow is the yellow green of their hair. If you use gold, it will make your gold look green.
Or the whole thing is just going to be kind of like washed out in a way.
Yeah, it's a lot of yellow.
Yeah.
With the tan flesh, but a different colored hair, I would go with gold because I like the way that that darker skin tones look with gold. Not a big fan of the silver with tan flesh or emerald or green or yellow. And so obsidian, I think, would be really great.
Yeah. And obsidian also, you can paint it in different ways where you can get like a little, it's black, yes, but like it also is like little elements of dark blue and green and stuff. And so you can get like another color. You can sneak like another color in there.
Yeah.
Which this army really needs.
Like some blue obsidian, I think, would be really cool. Or some purple. I like that a lot because purple and green are almost opposites. Yellow and purple are opposites. So that'd be really cool.
Yellow and purple together. I went to LSU, Louisiana State University. It's the school colors. But I think like yellow and purple together in general really gives like a strong college football vibe.
Oh, really?
Or like
Isn't
Lakers,
that the color of like the Lakers? Yeah, I was going to say.
The Vikings, the Minnesota Vikings. Like those two colors, it just gives a sports team vibe. I think like traditionally when people paint, purple and yellow in general, the two colors. Like if you have an army that's all purple or all yellow, it's a state. I feel like that's a statement.
Yeah, I mean,
and,
obviously
like,
don't make it like
right?
don't make it super purple. I would go with like a very warm purple. Like mix some like dark red into that purple. I think that would be really cool. But yeah, and then go back over that with like an obsidian or I know there's like smoky metallics and stuff. I think that would be really awesome.
Mm-hmm. I forget what it is actually. We used it on stream. I used it on stream I think with Adrian a few weeks back or Brett. I can't remember. Citadel actually makes. I always thought Lead Belcher was the darkest metallic they make. There's one darker. It's like almost black and a little metallic-y.
You got me, dude.
That one's kind of cool. You don't? Okay. Well, you're supposed to be stocking these things. At some point in your life, you did that.
At some point in my life, I also ordered every single thing that ever came into any game castle. Yes. So
and you can't somehow remember all of it?
You know? But yeah, like I think Obsidian would be really cool with that.
In general, and not to mention, like Obsidian has these kind of like links to fire, like the Fire Slayers do, and thematically, it's compelling, I think, as well. Broken Chef, as always, please show us that. I'm actually super into checking out any Sigmar armies all the time. So, thank you. Okay, here's another super chat. This one is probably a silly one because it is from Megan, my wife. She says, Zach, hi, how does this thing work? Okay, I think I might have it figured out. Anyway, are you still going to show us the packaging? Love, Kim. My sister is visiting. P.S. Cat, you have beautiful nails.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I got a new hobby tool. It's called the Razor by Gunpla. And I used it to polish my nails. But it's used to like wear down nubs on mostly Gunpla stuff, but like any plastic model kit.
Sorry,
and
mostly
stuff.
what stuff?
Gunpla? Gundam kits? Bandai
okay.
kits? Yeah. Yeah.
Is that like slang or is that what they're called?
Yeah, that's what they're called.
Kind of like how this is actually a Citadel model.
Kind of how cosplay is cosplay and not costume play.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It has like its own kind of.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. So
Okay.
it's like that.
It's not a brand name. It's not like a separate off brand name. Got it.
No.
Okay.
But yeah, I used it to polish my nails because I liked it, and it brings. I think I was like raving about it like a week ago after stream, but it is a tempered glass sort of sanding stick.
Oh, right.
That
Right.
has enough grit to it to be sort of like a 400 grit sandpaper, but it also then polishes up to about like a 1600 to maybe 1800 grit sandpaper.
Okay.
So yeah, I used it to polish my nails. I was testing it out, but it's great. It's by Gunpla. It's called Racer, Racer.
Okay.
And yeah, any store I believe that sells Gunpla stuff. I got it off of newtype.com.
Now, if I had that and it was like doing mold lines and stuff on a Citadel model, would that be overboard? Is that necessary?
I don't think it would be overboard. I think you would have a hard time because it is tempered glass, so it doesn't bend at all whatsoever. So like if you're doing a tank, I think it'd be fantastic. But if you're doing like a little mini where you need to get into
Got it.
grooves and stuff, it's not great. Which is why it's mainly for scale model kits or Gundam kits because they have the flat plastic and they're really usually really large pieces.
Thank you, Megan. And Megan, just FYI, I don't know what you mean about show us the. Am I going to show us the package?
Oh, this packaging?
Maybe? I don't know.
I know we showed it off at
Yeah,
the beginning.
we did.
If you missed it,
We did.
but yeah, is this what you mean? I hope that's what you mean.
Yeah, I'll put it back on the glam cam. I also hope that's what she means. Okay, thank you, Willow. For myself, I've been thinking about leveling up my brush game. Awesome. I've mostly used Citadel Army Painter so far. Any specific recommendations for brush type and brands? I know you have some thoughts on this. We both have some thoughts on this.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I really like natural hair brushes, although they are becoming harder to find and a little bit more expensive because it is getting harder to source natural hair in the States. It is much easier in Europe. So like the cost of getting stuff overseas tends to make it a little bit more expensive. But I am a huge fan of Winsor Newton art brushes. And Winsor Newton is a brand that you'll probably find in like a Michael's or a local hobby store or something.
Mm-hmm.
But their natural hair watercolor art brushes are fantastic. My favorite size is a 2. Depends on what I'm painting. I'll either predominantly stick with like a 1 or a 2. Right now, because I'm painting something much larger, personally, the main brush that I'm using is a 3. That might be too big for like stuff like this. But yeah, other than that, I also very much like Artist Opus brushes. They are natural sable. They're very nice. I wish their handles weren't white, mostly just because am afraid of like touching them when I have paint on my hands. But that's it. Like if aesthetically, I wish it wasn't white, and that's the only thing that I can find wrong with your brushes, then, you know, they're pretty good brushes.
Yeah, I have not used Artis Opus. I have used Winsor Newton. I actually think Winsor Newtons are okay. I have taken care of my Winsor Newton. It mostly works fine. Brett and I were kind of talking about this. We were saying how it does need your attention. It does need you to like make sure you're I find I'm reforming it a lot, like right away, right out, maybe just right out of the first time using it. I'm kind of reforming it a lot, but it does reform nicely. So there's that. But it kind of needs your attention, if that makes sense. I would kind of compare it airbrush-wise like a Sotar, right? Like you kind of can't just run anything through it compared to like a Patriot, right? I don't know how you feel, but I feel like the Winsor Newtons need my attention.
So you do start to get into the habit of rolling your brushes on your palette and stuff in order to form your tip, but that's just a good general skill to have anyway. But it's also a thing with natural hair brushes, you can bring them back from the brink a lot better than you can with a synthetic hair, because once a synthetic hair starts to bend, there really is no reshaping it unless you take some heat to it, and then you're running the risk of just malforming the brush. That also just even sounds more
like a lot of probably unnecessary work.
Yeah.
Considering there aren't a ton of well, I guess synthetic brushes tend to be less expensive also, right? Overall.
Usually, yeah. I know Winsor Newton makes a synthetic line. They are less expensive than their natural hair stuff. I like their synthetic line. I do like synthetic brushes. I think they're great for dry brushing and weathering and stuff. And if that's the only thing I have, I can do just, almost just as good. It's just a little bit more frustrating to work with, in my opinion, because I don't get that fine tip. And I'm like, even now I'm starting to see like it's still starting to curl at the tip. I'm probably going to have to cut it again. So you get that risk with synthetic brushes. I guess the benefit is that they're cheap. You can run through them. You can buy another one.
Yeah.
You can beat them up. You can do whatever you want. But my thing is if you learn the right skills from the get-go, then it's much easier for you in the long run, because then you're not running through brushes, no matter if they're sable or natural hair, or sorry, synthetic.
Yeah.
Sable and natural hair is the same thing. But especially if you're vegan or anything like that, you really don't want to use natural hair stuff. There are some really good synthetic hair brushes out there. I know MIG makes them. AK has a line of synthetic brushes as well too. Winsor Newton, like I mentioned before, has a line of synthetic hair brushes.
I've honestly been using the Citadel synthetic brushes. I find that they're workhorses.
Oh, the new white ones? Yeah, I like them. They're very soft. They're nice. It's just, they're a bit expensive for what they are.
I think you're right for a synthetic brush, but they weirdly keep their shape better than any other synthetic brush I've used. Namely, but to be fair, not probably. I don't think I've used the Winsor Newton ones for sure. I've used the MIG ones, and I don't know if I've used the AK ones. But I like the way I found that they kept their shape well. What I kind of find, Willow, is I would say I largely agree with Kat, but I will say that depending on what I'm doing, if I need to go through a process fast, on like 30 Fire Warriors or something like that, or like 30 Crude or a bunch of Guardians or something like that, and a workhorse can sometimes be better than something I need to. The word coddle was aggressive, but something I need to be in tune with.
Right.
I don't always necessarily want to be in tune with my brush.
Yeah, and I usually will just paint one figure at a time. So we have different painting styles. So I would agree with you if you are trying to power through an army, then don't pick a nice brush, because the chances are is you're not going to take the time to reform the shape. You're not going to take the time to fully like clean it out in between colors. You're not going to be careful with how you're loading your brush, everything like that.
Right.
So if time is of the essence.
So let me ask you this. Let's do this. What would you recommend for somebody? Now they're saying Willow, she's saying that they want to up their brush game, right? Anyone who wants to up their brush game. We're thinking here, what would you tell them? What would be the collection of brushes? Don't even worry about like a technique like a dry brush or something like that. Like what nice brush would you tell them? What workhorse would you tell them? Like what sizes? Like what if they're painting, they're going through and they're painting an army, right? A lot of our fans are going to be painting armies. So like, what would you tell somebody?
So a nice brush, if you want to treat yourself, would be a Winsor Newton size 2, and or an Artist Opus size 2.
Okay.
That would be like, that's a good gift. I got one as a Christmas gift one year, and I was very ecstatic.
They're not awfully they're like...
No, but it was like a Secret Santa thing, right?
It's like,
the budget was like 20.
20s,
Yeah, the budget for Secret Santa was like $25.
That sounds like a lot
perfect.
for a brush, but I mean, like if you're going to take care of it and have it for a few years,
yes.
like that's not a lot actually, right? Yeah.
And if you want a synthetic nice brush, I would go for the Winsor Newton synthetic line. I like them a lot. If you want a workhorse that is going to last, and that's I think a good key, then you want the Citadel synthetic stuff. If you want something that you can burn through, that you don't care about, then the AK synthetic line is great. They're like $2 to $3 a brush. They're pretty good as far as bristles go, but you can beat them up and not care because they're so cheap.
And of course, cheap destroyed brushes turn into
dry brushes.
Good dry brushes and good weathering. Yeah. Good.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I like these recommendations. I do use a Winsor Newton as well. I like it. I would say similar to Cat. However, I have not used the Winsor Newton synthetics. Another line of brush I like, what I was just showing you. Is it working?
No, I just struggled to open these pots without like flinging them everywhere, so I'm trying to be careful.
Another product I like is, Brett turned me onto the Virtuosos, which you get from Amazon, I think.
Okay.
I think it even might be like, I don't think it's the Amazon brand, but they're just called Virtuoso, and Brett bought a set of them, and they hold up well, they hold their shape well, and like you're talking about, one of the things you look for, and I know, same with me, is that the bristles are long. And you were saying earlier that it's like an artist brush as opposed to a miniature brush.
Yeah, long and soft. So that's it. That's another thing as well too, is that Winsor Newton makes art brushes, and they make miniature brushes. And when I say a size 1 art brush, I mean a size 1 art brush. There are some people who are big fans of the miniature brushes. Artist Opus also makes miniature brushes as well too. I like the longer bristles. It makes it easier to keep the paint out of the ferrule. It is much more springy and soft. You can get a nice bend. You can go over curves a little bit easier. You can get a nicer tip usually. So yeah, with Artist Opus, I think it's their signature brush.
Okay.
Is what it is. With Winsor Newton, it's their art brush.
With any tool in a creative endeavor, and let's talk about our own creative endeavor, whether here painting, whether it's an airbrush or a brush, I have found, and Kat, I'll be interested in your take on this, but I have found that, and hear me out, okay, I found that there is usually a collection of products that is, you can get away from like a craft store. Okay, there's a version of every product in a craft store that is meant to almost be used by a child and be destroyed.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, and so like that's the airbrush that they sell at Michael's. That's the brush is in like for $10.
The Harbor Freight $80 airbrush, something like that. Yeah.
Although that's pretty much the cost of a Badger for what it's worth, but of a Patriot.
Yeah, but I think you get a compressor
Oh,
with
okay,
that
yeah,
price as well too. So yes.
So I find that you're on shoulder cam here, Brett. But I mean,
okay.
I just called you Brett. Oh my gosh.
Ooh, upgrade.
I don't even.
I am so much taller now.
I don't even know what that is. That's weird. Sorry, everyone, really, for that. Kat, Brett, everybody. I find that there are tools that are just like, they're not going to work for you, right?
Yeah.
Unless you're using them to like do terrain. And frankly, we use those brushes. We have a bunch of them back here.
Yeah.
We beat the crap out of them, we throw them away. We use them for like 1 or 2 projects and they're gone. But I found that once you kind of get up into like the accepted level of what you hear people talking about and blah, 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 but you're going to also be able to go on the internet and find somebody who rails against this product or that product. I found that once you kind of get into that entry level, successful hobby product, it will do work for you. And what you're then going to do is your skill is going to be more important, and then you're going to have this pull and play with your level of equipment and the level of your skill, where you're going to get better, and then you're going to realize like, hey, like Willow saying, hey, I think I'm ready for a new brush, right?
Yeah.
When you get that new brush, I think at first, Willow, there's a good chance you're going to be like, did I just waste my money? Because I don't feel like I'm. Not that Willow's suddenly expecting to be a better painter with a new brush, but you don't get a lot of feel right away. But it's slow and over time.
Yeah, to me.
For me.
To me, I would rather. I think we asked this question before on stream. I would rather have the skill than the nice brush, and so.
That's great because that's exactly what's happening right now.
Exactly. So, I can use a pack of craft brushes that, are $5. I bought them from, a pharmacy store.
What if?
Yeah.
You know where I'm going with this.
Okay.
While you're giving valuable information.
Okay, are we going to do another challenge?
Let's do a challenge where we have really good products, but we're blindfolded and can only paint with our left hand. Or no, let's not blindfold. Okay,
I can
only paint with our left hand. Could you only... Ooh, I don't know.
Yeah.
This is the opposite. Good skill.
I'm a bit ambidextrous. I can kind of write with my left hand, but for the most part, I do use my left hand almost as my dominant hand in other things in life. So
that's cheating.
But I think it would be fun. I've never painted with my left hand.
No.
Yeah.
Then let's do the blind. You'll blindfold. I'll use my left hand.
Okay.
But we'll use really good brushes.
I don't know.
And we'll use a wet palette. We'll have everything else, and then
I don't know if blindfolding is the key here. I think maybe
sick. Get food poisoning.
Yeah, or maybe
On-stream food
like
poisoning.
those weird like beer goggle glasses or something,
Okay.
or whatever. Maybe I just don't use my glasses and I can only use it at like shoulder length.
Okay. Maybe we'll put it up for a vote. What kind of horrible temporary handicap should we impose on Kat? And then the flip side, she gets to use whatever nice brush she wants. Wet palette, it's all here. Transparator, thinner, everything you can imagine.
Okay.
But you're throwing up for half the episode. We'll see. Okay. Willow, I hope that helps. Brush recommendations are they come up every few months here. And we're always learning. Bryce, what's up, Bryce? I know Bryce. You know Bryce.
I know Bryce.
You know Bryce. Bryce says, everyone's talking about color schemes, has me thinking about cucumber green and dark purple tower Eldar thoughts. Well, Bryce, you know that my tower kind of cucumber green. And cucumber green is a color. Actually, this is my towel, Bryce. You know this, cucumber green and dark purple. And light purple actually, and I think these colors to me, for whatever reason, like weird teals and greens and then purples, are like the advanced alien colors, and it might be from playing Halo as a kid. I'm not sure like why I associate those colors with like advanced alien races.
Yeah.
But Bryce, I'm with you on this because I don't know, for whatever reason, I totally see these colors as alien colors. Yeah.
No, I agree with you. Purple and green, like purple and teal, purple and cucumber green, just purple and green in general. They just make such good color combinations. My only thing is that you if you do too much, you go too bright, it starts to look kind of cartoony. almost like Barney the dinosaur in a
Yeah,
way.
I mean, you're not. You say it like it's a bad thing.
It's not, but if that's not the look that you're going for,
If you're not going for a Barney look,
if you're not looking for like a cartoon,
Like
almost toy,
like a Barney army.
yeah, that'd be, yeah.
Don't do a Barney army. Bryce.
Do one though. Don't let Zach hold you back.
Bryce was messaging me earlier today about redoing his orcs in yellow. And actually, Bryce, I was like, oh yeah, Bryce, do yellow. But don't redo your orcs, Bryce. They look amazing. And if by redo, you literally mean paint over a strip, please don't do that. That would make me sad because they look quite good.
I think though, if you maybe add some yellow highlights, then that could change the look of your orcs. I think that'd be awesome. You could definitely work that in.
Counterpoint,
some
Bryce.
banana cream highlights on green skin looks fantastic.
Banana cream. Oh, okay. And that's actually how Bryce paints. Bryce is kind of known as this guy who will paint an army up and then like
Be
over
done
the
with
course
it?
of a year. No, keep adding.
Oh,
like,
okay,
keep adding,
yeah,
going
yeah,
back
definitely.
into-
When you get better, you should always do that.
Yeah. So also counterpoint, Bryce. Either start a new orc army, which I don't think is a crazy idea.
Or play Conquest.
Play Conquest, do Conquest orcs, do Sigmar orcs like these guys, or just do another 40k orc army and give it a different spin. And they're a different faction. I haven't yet, and I probably won't. But I've absolutely thought about painting a second Tau army, honestly, and just because I want to have a different color and base Tau army.
Fair, yeah. I'm gonna just go back to the Conquest thing though. There are only 2 Wadroon players that I know of, myself included in that count.
Yeah.
So I would really like another Wadroon player.
That's true. There's plenty of 40k orc players, of which you are already one, Bryce. And there are also a lot of AOS orc players, so we should spread the love, I agree. And Bryce has a Skaven AOS army, so he's good on AOS. Thank you, Bryce, by the way. Thank you, Cobra Commander. Hello, Zach and Kat. Any suggestions for painting blue metallic armor? Turbo Dork, ? Mixing silver and blue, ? How is it highlighted or shaded? Thanks. I do have some thoughts on this. I bet you have thoughts on this as well.
Yeah, you go first.
Me first, okay. We've talked about this paint before, I feel like, is the Turbo Dork Blue Steel. What I have definitely found, thanks to Kat's advice, is that you do want to get glossy black primer for Turbo Dork. Now, I could actually show this, and I kind of want to. We're in top down. Okay, I'm going to show this real quick. I'm going to grab a Thousand Sun Rubric Marine that is finished.
I wonder how far the microphones can track really quick.
What's that?
No, I was just wondering, like, if you stepped far enough away, would the microphone be upset? But
I don't know. I think we found out that mostly in the whole studio we're okay.
Okay.
And I'll show you guys So I actually normally hate showing in progress models, but I will make an exception here. I'll show you guys on the Glam Cam. He's not based because I just started working on him today. You can see the kind of shine difference between, let me zoom in a bit here. You can see the kind of shine difference between the Rubric Marine, which needs basically just decals and some basing work. I paint these on stream a while back. We're getting started on an Alpha Legion army, both Turbo Dork. Okay, both Turbo Dork. This is, this color here is the Seafood, and then a highlight of Matcha. This color here is Cool Ranch, and a highlight of Maguro. So both the top 2 colors are from their Japanese cuisine-inspired line.
Which is new.
Which is
fairly new, yeah.
Yeah, but they're all really nice. I think I picked all of them up except for the yellow one to play around with, and I like them a lot. She's absolutely right. You want to use glossy black. I think Turbo Dork Blue Steel is really... Oh, that also I think has... No, it doesn't have Blue Steel. It's Maguro. They're very similar, honestly. Maguro and Blue Steel. I don't know if you've...
I'd have to have the models in front of me.
Yeah. They're very similar. As far as... I think, like, if you're airbrushing with both those models back there, I airbrush those colors, so glossy black. And then the first color, I Zenithal, but not that much. And it's like the darker one. And then the second one, I fairly aggressively Zenithal. just like that. And then as far as shading, I don't apply anything all over them, but I do go into recesses or any place I want to add a little depth, and I just shade. I honestly shade with a color that matches it.
Okay.
So I'll shade the blue with Drakenhof Nightshade. I'll shade the green. I haven't shaded these guys yet, the Alpha Legion, but I probably will either use that Carillion green shade or maybe Beal Tan Green. I'll have to check. I'm not sure which one. I don't shade with black on them. I don't like the way that looks. In general, I don't like to shade like a color with non-oil unless it's terrain or something. How's it highlighted? Now, that's a good question. So as I said, I highlight with a lighter color through the airbrush. In both of these cases, Cobra, I'm getting highlights on Thousand Sun, Rubric Marines, and on Chaos Space Marines through, I kind of think of it as like highlighting through the model, meaning the model has, I'm not necessarily going and highlighting every armor panel line, because the model has, as you guys know, a lot of like weird trim on it that I'm painting a different color and then maybe highlighting that a little bit. So as far as like adding a highlight, like an edge highlight or something.
You're just using the actual sculpt of the model.
Well, I'm finding a highlight is to put visual interest points down. But if the model has like enough on it where you can pick individual areas and say, oh, this serves as the highlight because there's so many little lattice work and details going on and stuff like that. Or, for example, my Orc Aeronautica army, I highlighted Turbo Dork red with silver to make it look like weathered chipping. So in that way, it's like a cheat of a highlight because the highlight and the weathering are kind of the same process. I don't know. I've never like painted something super metallic and then edge highlighted it. I guess I have with just normal silver colors, but that's not what he's asking. What would you do? And actually, here's more also what I would want your thoughts on. He's talking about mixing silver and blue. What do you think?
So when you're mixing a metallic paint with a non-metallic paint, what you're going to find is that you're just getting a really dull metallic. It'll have sort of that color of whatever the non-metallic that you mixed in will be, but that paint is actually coating the metallic flakes. And so it's probably not necessarily the best thing that you want to do. If you don't have a colored blue metallic and you're really wanting to go with true metallics, which are, anything that has like metallic flake in it, and you don't have a blue metallic.
I'm sorry, Kat, real quick.
Yeah.
You're saying as opposed to doing like non-metallic metal. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So if you don't want to go out and buy a metallic blue paint, which Turbo Dork makes, but they do go on better if you airbrush them. If you don't want to airbrush them,
I think so.
I know that the AK 3rd Gen line has a blue metallic as well, so you can look at that. There's also a blue, I think it's called like Warhead Steel Blue for MiG, and they have a bluish silver metallic. So, there's a couple different blue metallics out there. And I know that, I think, actually, I don't know, that Vallejo is starting to get more into color metallics as well, too. And I know that Army Painter is as well.
Green Stuff World has some stuff.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them out there. I don't think you have a problem getting them. I will say, for me, with the different brands of metallic I've used, which is mostly Citadel, Turbo Dork, and AK, I love Turbo Dork. Their colors are wild, but I agree with Kat. They are best airbrushed. They are second best used, as Brett and I discovered on stream, in kind of weird, funky ways like dry brushing or kind of like an effect. I do struggle a little bit to successfully layer paint with Turbo Dork.
Yeah.
I find I'm doing a lot of work. Often.
So if you're brush painting them, I probably wouldn't go for Turbo Dork. If you have an airbrush, they're fantastic. They're great. Thin them though. Thin them. Because they do kind of tend to get a little bit chunky. But if you don't have that,
but okay.
If you don't have that, get a clear blue, like a clear blue paint. And I know that Games Workshop makes a clear blue. I know that AK makes a clear blue.
Okay, sorry, real quick here. You're not talking about Drakenhof Nightshade with Games Workshop. You're talking about
Their Airbrush
it's the
clear
Airbrush
blue. Yeah.
clear. The GW one is called Calth Blue. And how is the AK? How do you feel like the AK? Because I've used your AK, the ink, right? You're talking about.
Well, they do have a clear color.
They also just have a clear one.
line,
Okay,
yeah.
that's different than the ink.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I know that Reaper Paints has a clear paint as well too. And so what you want to do
Yes,
is
we have some of these back here. Yeah.
put down your metallic color, so like your silver, and then you're going to thin your clear paint and put that over your metallic. And what this gets you is it looks like a colored metallic paint.
Yeah.
This is how a lot of cars are painted as well too. Is they put down the metallic flake first, and then they put down the like clear whatever color on top of it. And so that's one way that you can do like colored metallic paints and stuff.
We have mentioned our friend who a lot of local people know, Andrew Whitehead. And he has a beautifully painted Night Lord's army that we hope to have on the stream sometime soon over at Tabletop Titans. And Andrew's army was painted in this way that Kat's describing, in that he did silver, and then actually by hand, which is hard to do because the stuff pulls weird. He'd use the Minotaur Ghost tint and use the blue.
Yeah.
And he got a beautiful look on that, but it was hard work. And I couldn't help but think after, I think he did that before there are a lot of, he did that years ago. I think that army's almost 10 years old. And I can't help but think, why not just get the metallic paint? Now, when you see this guy's army, you'll be like, wow, it looks amazing.
It does give you a different feel. When you put a clear paint over a metallic, it does look different. So I would definitely test it out on some spoons. Some spoons are great.
Or like
plastic spoons.
Like Cobra, like you don't have a million models, you're like random models lying around.
Yeah.
He does.
Okay.
We know he does.
Well, I wasn't going to assume. But yeah, if you don't, plastic spoons are great for testing out paints and stuff, especially in metallics, because you do get that curvature, and so you can see how the metallics play with that. But other than that, really what you do is you paint your metallics on first. So you would paint your darker metallic, your middle metallic, your highlight metallic, and then go over that with a clear paint. And then you have your already highlighted blue metallic.
Yeah, I like the Citadel clear paints are a little glossy, I think, compared to the AK.
Which is actually great when you're doing metallics, because you don't want to put a matte paint over metallics anyway.
Sorry. Again, I'm talking about, because I haven't used the AK clear. I've used the AK ink. And that is matte.
Yeah.
That's matte.
No, the AK clear?
The AK ink.
Ink, yes.
Is not glossy.
Yeah. The clears are like a semi-gloss, sort of like satin gloss finish to them. So yeah, like the Minotaur Ghosting Star. I want to say also the Reaper clears also have like a satiny finish to them. It's very much like if you were going to mix Transpirator with just a basic acrylic paint. The more you mix in, if you have just a normal base Transpirator, not the matte one, it gets glossier. So yeah, you want to put a glossy paint over any metallic.
The best advice: test everything out. Which can be lame. Actually, the lamest part, I was kind of joking that, of course, Cobra has models laying around to test things on. I'm assuming he does. Maybe he doesn't. Spoons are good at the very least. But actually, the lamest part about that is just having to go buy all these paints, then rule some of them out and be like, well, I'm not actually even going to use that. Interpreter's expensive, actually.
Yeah.
It's like
$6.
$6.
Yeah.
It's like weirdly more than Citadel, almost, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good luck, Cobra. Digital designer, thank you. He says, Evening Titans, loving the Gunpla talk. Any ideas for a custom SDCS Granded Gundam scheme? I plan on Sakuras. but just did those on my night. Thanks. I can't answer this question. This is all you. This is obviously all you. I know nothing about any of this. I don't even know most of the words he's talking about right here.
It's actually not all me, but thankfully Seth is here.
Oh, okay. But I still.
That's like the little chibi. Oh, okay. So it's like a unicorn then. Oh, okay.
Oh, you mean like it's not all you because you also didn't know what he was talking about?
No. But thank you for the picture. Yeah, it looks like a very. It looks very similar to a unicorn. And a unicorn is a type of
horse with horn on it. That I do know. Hey, actually, wait. I do have a thought on this.
Yeah.
I do have a thought on this. Based on what Seth just showed us.
Yes.
I have a white that I absolutely love. And when we did did we do favorite white paints?
No, we did favorite reds.
We did favorite reds.
Yeah.
You turned me onto this years ago. A few years back, I painted my Aeronautica Imperials with the MIG satin, right? And I bet that would look good on that thing.
Yeah.
I just looked at.
Yeah, that thing, yeah.
Because it seems like you don't want like a flat white on. Well, I don't know.
So you can. You know, the thing about Gundam kits is that they come with colored plastic already.
I'm out of my lane here.
You don't have to paint them.
Okay.
But they look sick painted, and honestly, I think it's a waste if you don't paint them. But the thing is that they make it very easy for you not to. Like, they look really good on a shelf. You can pose them, you can play with them, everything like that. You don't have to have glue in order to put them together.
What do you do with a Gundam when you say you can play with them?
I meant just like change the poses, not like action figure-y kind of thing, because then they'll fall apart.
Can we get a meme, by the way, somebody please, of Jonathan, who's in chat, John, Tall John, in a bathtub playing with his Gundam, just at some point. No rush, but I know
that. A bathtub specifically, yeah.
I mean, that's the best place when you're a kid to play with
Yeah,
toys,
see, I would picture more of like a Barbie Gundam type thing instead of Barbie Ken.
That works too.
Yeah.
Just keep it PG-13.
Honestly though, like, because it's like really when it comes to Gundam suits and stuff, I really like the more weathered the better. I think they look sick, especially if you like really start to tear them apart. But when it comes to like paint schemes and themes, I tend to stick with what the suit actually is supposed to be like, what the canon color of it is. Other than that, though, I think you can honestly just get wild and crazy with it. But yeah, I don't really have like a major answer to this. Well, personally speaking, personal stuff, I like to stick with just the canon color of the suit, but it's like grungy, dirty, rusty. It's got like holes in it, you know, stuff like that.
I like this. So canon color of the suit. I don't know a lot about Gundam. My only experiences really through Gundam is that I am pretty active fairly active on the Turbo Dork Facebook group, and a lot of people post their Gundams there. So I like, if I was going to paint Gundam, I'd go the opposite way. I would stick with the canon, like I like to do, like I do with my Eldar, but I tend to just like to make it like take the canon, but put it more in like a late 70s to like late 80s children's Saturday morning cartoon vibe.
Okay.
That's what I would do. Just absolute insane Turbo Dork, crazy colors, but matching the canon. I think I like Kat's thought process, though, of saying it's not just the colors. It's kind of like what you do with the colors, right? Like, are you going to weather things? And sometimes weathering adds its own color, like in the case of rust, right? Like
or like patinas or anything like that. Verdigris,
which I love. Do people verdigris their Gundams? Because I'd be into Gundam if Gundam had a good verdigris scene, I might get into the verdigris scene in Gundam.
Why not? I mean, they're metal. They're giant metal-ish suits. So you can kind of do whatever you want with them, right? Like, they're giant space robots with dudes inside of them that fight each other. And so you can kind of you can go crazy. You can go, oh, that's interesting. There's like some dry chunks in my Korax white. You can go kind of crazy with it, honestly. But like what we mentioned before, really, when you're picking a paint scheme and a paint a color palette, it's really all about personal choice. But to me, I think the best thing that you can do is find a picture that you like, whether it be of a bird, of a fish, of a tree, of a flower, of whatever, and go, okay, cool. This is my main color. These are the panels that I want to put it on. This is the accent color, and these are the panels that I want to put this on, and just stick with it. And one way that I am doing that with my with Droon is I like to put everything back where I got them from, and so I have this briefcase that helps me keep my paint super organized. But I want to put them back. But
oh my gosh, she's not joking. She takes it everywhere. I'm just like places that don't even make sense. She just has a briefcase of paint.
Yes, it's always on me.
You never know when someone might suddenly need a Gundam painted in Safeway.
You never know. You never know. It's also very heavy, so I'm gaining muscle mass by carrying it around everywhere. But it helps just sticking with a paint theme and a paint scheme. And so every time I take out a paint to paint a particular model of my army, I'll put like a colored rubber band on top of it and I go, that's the color, that's the red that I'm using, right. That's the blue that I'm using. Yeah.
Okay, these are clearly not done, but here we are an hour and a half in. This is actually great. I have an hour to do fun stuff. I just did all the mandatory work here, which is pretty much laying down base coats. For some reason, both Kat and I have like this bizarre aversion to, see if you guys can figure out the same thing. We've done the same thing. Well, here's mine. Here's Kat's. Here's one of Kat's. See if you can figure out the thing for some reason we chose to avoid. Now here they are together. I don't know why, because it's not hard to paint the spear.
No.
But we both have just decided that we're leaving the spear black
for last. Yeah.
So far so good. And if you were with an 8-year-old, that you could be done.
They would be very impressed.
They'd be super
honestly.
impressed.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm happy with how these are coming out right now. And you know what I just realized? That these are actually these boxes are $30. I actually think that's a pretty good deal considering how much. Now their paint has gone bigger.
Yeah, they used to in these boxes have the little miniature.
Oh, that's right. They had an
pots
even tinier
that
one.
Notoriously, the seals on them were awful, and it was always a gamble whenever someone walked out of the store with it of like, okay, well, are they going to come back? Because obviously they're plastic wrapped. We can't open them. We can't check and see if the paint is still good, and so we do have to wait for someone to come in and be like, actually, all of these paints are completely solid. And so I'm glad that they now give you the full size paints in these boxes.
The real adult paints. I kind of like it. Kat, have you ever done one of those wine and paint nights?
I've not. No, but that sounds amazing.
You know what it is, though, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You get really drunk and you paint.
Well, I don't think you have to get drunk.
You get really drunk.
I've done it a couple times, and it is fun. And I'm almost kind of like, these boxes kind of feel like that. Like I almost want this box to be like. Also,
to come with a little tiny wine.
Not a little tiny one. I mean, like, I want it to come with like, a bottle of wine.
Yeah.
And you just drink your wine and paint your 3 orcs or your 2 stormcast. Now, Kat and I also have. Well, actually, I don't know that it'll be Kat and I, but we definitely want to make Kat do it. Somebody's going to be doing the 40K version of this sometime in the near future. Uh-huh. We might try to make Adrian do it. So we'll find somebody, and it might be me again. But I think next time I was telling Kat before the stream started that rather than pick Stormcast and Orcs, we picked the ones we wanted. I think I'm happy doing either one.
Yeah.
You were a little more interested in doing the armory guys because you're painting a lot of Orcs.
Yeah.
I thought I should say, when she came in here, I should surprise her and say, look, you're not doing that. Well, maybe you are, but we're going to draw randomly to see which ones we're doing. I think for the 40K one, we're going to have to do it that way.
I think that'd be really fun. Because honestly, I don't have a preference between Space Marines and Necrons.
And Necrons, yeah.
I'm kind of leaning more towards Space Marines because these are Sigmarines, Space Marines, but also Necrons are highly metallic and these are highly metallic.
Look at you now, yeah.
So it would be almost like me painting the same thing, I feel.
You also made a good point, which is that you said you kind of like challenging yourself, and Necrons are famously on the easier side to paint.
Yes.
Actually, had a friend from a larger group in the Bay Area messaged me today who's a Sigmar player, and he said, hey, look, I want to get into 40K. I know you play some 40K. He said, can you help me decide between two armies? And the two armies were Necrons or Thousand Sons. And the first thing I said to him was, you should play what you think is cooler, of course, as always.
Rule of
blah,
cool.
blah, blah, blah. There's always that, right? But candidly, you kind of just named the easiest 40K army to paint and the hardest 40K army to paint. Or at least the most tedious 40K army to paint. And I think the better way of phrasing that, honestly, is the army that responds best to some techniques, to some high output techniques, specifically dry brushing. Right. And the army that actually doesn't do that and needs you to go in and do a lot of brush painting, even if you're airbrushing. Thousand Sons are a mess. So it's I don't know if that influences his opinion or not, but that is.
Oh, they didn't tell you what they chose.
Yeah, I think he's still deciding.
Okay.
I'll let everybody.
Yeah. Necrons are very easy to paint. It's just a bunch of metallics, and then you wash it, and then you dry brush some metallics back on top of it. So, you know, it'd be tedious just because they have a bunch of tiny little parts, but it's the easiest technique-wise.
Yeah. Which is nice, right? Like if you can go far with an army, with techniques that are kind of simple, or at least not like, really turning on all your brain power and drawing a brush across 1,000 little
suns.
Yeah, literally. It can be less stressful. Thank you, Tom Francis. Hey guys, 2 questions. Do you have a process for reforming brushes? I use brush soap every session, but find as I paint, my sables don't hold shape. Also, can you share a recipe for warm autumn brown robes and coats? I'm gonna let you take both of these.
Okay.
I'm gonna pass both of these to you.
Yeah. So any recipe that I come up with is not Citadel. So maybe we can find some like alternatives.
I can I'll Citadel translate for you.
Okay.
I might be able to, I mean, you can Citadel translate too.
Sort of.
Okay.
Sort of. I can point to you where it is on a Citadel rack, but I wouldn't know the name of it.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay. That's funny. Okay. So what happens when they change up the rack?
I learned the rack.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Actually, the racks are the most tedious thing because the paint colors and like the little swatches that you see, they're stickers. And so you have to like perfectly lay them on. If they are crooked in any way,
that's how Games Workshop gets it. That's how Games Workshop gets its retailers to learn their product.
Yeah. You pay very close attention to it. So reshaping brushes, if you find that your sable hair brushes are losing shape, they're dirty. You have paint up in your ferrule, you have something just stuck in your brush somewhere. And so my number one suggestion would be to clean it. And so there's brush soap, which is nice for day-to-day stuff, but it doesn't do like the deep cleaning. What I like to use with sable hair brushes is 91 to 99% isopropyl alcohol. This is also what I use to clean out my airbrush, and so I have like jugs of it sitting in like a shelf, and this is what I use to like deep clean anything. Now it's very stripping, and so you really want to make sure you have like a good conditioner set aside after you do this. But essentially what you do...
Why is that?
The alcohol?
No, why? Yeah, talk about why you need... You said it's very stripping, and you want a good conditioner after. So talk about that.
So I mean, alcohol is just drying in general. Like if you have alcohol, like face products or hair products and stuff like that, you find that it makes your hair drier or your face drier, just stuff like that.
And you could actually probably do almost in some ways with a brush more damage if you just do the alcohol. Yeah,
and so you're going to be stripping it of a lot of like moisture and oils when you're about to do what I'm going to tell you to do, and so. Immediately afterwards, you rinse it with water, and then you coat it with some conditioner, and then you just let it sit overnight. So what you want to do, actually, is get a little shallow dish. It could be like, the bottom of a Solo cup cutout, or even like a little sauce dish. Like when you go to like a Japanese restaurant, and that's what you pour your soy sauce into.
Just swipe one of theirs.
Yeah, you could just buy your own. But just something shallow, something shallow that has like it doesn't have a deep lip to it. And you're gonna pour isopropyl alcohol into it, and you take your brush and you take the tip of it, and then you press it down into, not super hard, you press it down into the isopropyl alcohol.
We're gonna zoom.
Let's move this over here. You press it down into the isopropyl alcohol, and then you're going to angle it so that you're putting a little bit of pressure on your ferrule, which is the tip of your ferrule, which is the metal thing that holds your bristles in. To your brush, there's also a bunch of glue in there as well too, but what you're going to do is you're going to roll it, and you're going to press and roll and then swish your brush a little bit, and you're going to press and roll and swish your brush a little bit. And what ends up happening if you have a bunch of stuff just trapped in the deep recesses of your brush, what comes out starts to look a little bit like fish poop. And so it's just like little tiny little black bits and brown bits that start to flake out.
Standard fish poop.
Yeah, and so you're trying to get all of this out of your brush as much as possible. And the pressure on your ferrule is supposed to be very light. You're not trying to like bend your brush or anything, because that will ruin your hairs as well too. It'll start to soften the glue on the inside as well if you're putting too much leverage on it and you're working it too much. And so it's just very light. It's just very light pressure. Maybe this is however much you're going to bend it. And then you're just going to roll. And you're not trying to like jam your brush in it or anything like that. And then rinse it really well with water. You're going to try and get all the alcohol out of it as much as possible. And then get some conditioner, like just hair conditioner. And then get it on your tips of your fingers, and then work that into your brush, and then form your tip by twisting it, and then let it dry
like
flat.
Conditioner you would use in the shower.
Yeah, like hair conditioner.
And if you're one of those dudes who uses the conditioner shampoo mix,
don't use that. Yeah, just use just normal conditioner. You can get like a really cheap bottle of conditioner if you need to buy it. I like to steal them from
here we go.
Hotels.
Oh, I'm back.
I like to steal the little tiny bottles that you can get at hotels and stuff. Although I'm finding that a lot of them don't do that anymore. A lot of them have like
a pump thing on the wall.
A pump thing on the wall, yeah.
So you have to bring your own bottles and just.
But it's still free conditioner, so bring your own bottle.
Free conditioner, guys.
Or if you have a friend that has conditioner, just ask to like borrow.
Oh, okay.
Just borrow. Just be very nice. Be like, hey, can I use some?
Hey, can I come over and take a shower?
And you get out and you're completely dry, but you got a load of brushes with you. Yeah. So, yeah, just some hair conditioner. I also like to use beard pomade that you use to like form like your handlebar mustaches or whatever. So if you have any like beard, like thick, I don't know what it's called, but like the little pomade stuff, that it works really well with your brushes as well too. Then you're just gonna form your tip, and you're gonna leave it to dry overnight, and then the next day rinse it out and see how it goes and how you can form your tip that way. But usually I find that if a sable hair brush does not want to come together, it's usually because there's a bunch of like just dried paint just jammed deep into the brush. And that's the best way to get it out. Don't use a blade, don't use anything, because you can actually harm your hairs and cut your hair. And if you are cutting into your brush, you start to affect the shape of it that way as well. So just be very careful, be very patient. Don't be super rough with it, but also don't treat it like it's gonna fall apart if you look at it wrong. So take some isopropyl alcohol and clean it. And if fish poop comes out of your brush, then you know you're doing it right.
You heard it here first, folks. Now,
there's another question.
Follow-up question.
Yeah.
How do you know when your nice Winsor Newton Artis Opus sable brush is done? Then you got to throw it away and get a new one. Does that ever happen?
When your hairs start to split. Very similar to like when you get split ends with overtreated hair and stuff like that, or dry damaged hair and stuff. I'm sure I have a bunch because my ends are bleached, but your hairs will start to split and come apart, very much like your hair on your head does. And so when it starts to do that, it's done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, thank you, Tom. Hopefully that was a good thorough answer for you. We should do maybe we should do like a little vid on that at some point.
Yeah, definitely.
It's just so people can see the fish poop.
I gotta find a really like dirty brush then. I try to keep mine fairly clean, but I'm also painting a lot more, and so maybe I can just dirty up a brush.
Yeah, it's a little scary, right? Like, because that is the unhelpful answer we want to tell Tom is don't let it happen in the first place, right? Of course, that's not helpful. But
it will happen.
And it will
no matter how like
over time.
Yeah, no matter how careful you are with your brush, you're gonna end up with buildup no matter what. So knowing how to deep clean your brush, knowing how to deep clean your airbrush is also very important as well too. So yeah, like you can say like, well, don't let it happen and that's it. But you gotta know how to fix it when it does, because it's going to happen.
How's these guys coming out?
I'm getting some white on the belt and stuff because I don't have a brown. So
that's
I'm
too
going
bad.
to wash it with some Airbrush.
We decided we weren't going to share either.
Yeah.
Which
these are my paints.
Those are hers, and that's too bad because I have browns. I could use some white right now to lighten a red. I'd like to dry brush the shield over here.
You can see like my Corax is like super chunky.
I mean, I'd take anything.
Yeah.
But nope, can't do it.
Oh no, you don't want this one. It's not good.
Okay. All right, where I'm at is I have done my first Agrax, which is on these red shields. Brown on red, brown wash on red, kind of it's a look. And for orcs, it makes sense because it's a grimy kind of a look, right? So I think it's okay. I don't love. There's some silver plates I've painted on these guys, and I almost kind of wish I had done them red as well, because I'm gonna have to wash those. I guess based on the box art, they really want me to wash everything with Agrax Earthshade.
Yeah.
In fact, I now see that the Agrax Earthshade, the paints point to different parts, and I now see that Agrax Earthshade is just a giant circle around the whole model. Yours as well.
Yes.
See, okay, that graphic is kind of interesting how that works. So, okay.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if
I don't want to do that really.
these little loincloths were supposed to be lead belcher, because they look just kind of dirty in the picture. And so I painted them white. I might go over them with some lead belcher and then just wash pretty much the whole model in Airbrush, yeah.
Okay. Well, here's what I'm going to do then. Because that does seem to be what we have the equipment for, I'm going to do what I was talking about a little bit earlier, which is I'm going to try to find places where I can... In other words, what I'm saying is I don't really have a lot of options here for highlighting up, because I don't have white, and you don't have too many options. Well, I guess you could mix some stuff, some silver and gold or something. But I don't have a ton of options, so I have to kind of get creative with how I highlight and how I pick out details. So I have to kind of think about what I was saying earlier, which is I'm going to not be able to like edge highlight much. Not that this model would have much edge highlighting. I guess it could.
Well, I guess the thing that you could also do is wash it with Airbrush, because that'll make it darker and then go back in with just the pure green.
Right. So that's actually, and I haven't even used the pure green yet.
Okay.
So I do have that for this. The skin I think I'm okay on. And I think I also haven't used the pure brown yet. On the brown, I first actually used, I mixed it with red to kind of give it a reddish hue and also make it a little bit darker. So I do have some kind of play with both the pure brown. The whole process, my thought process was, since I didn't have like white or a lot of light, I had some light colors, but I actually want to kind of make darker colors first, and then move up to the original color. Was kind of my scheme here. So I think it's gonna work out for me.
I also do want to emphasize, right, like while these are beginner brushes and we are challenging ourselves by limiting it to just using what is in the box, we can't not bring our prior knowledge to painting as well too. So I'm trying not to mix paints.
Oh, I have been.
Just so that way, if someone comes into this and they aren't yet comfortable with mixing paints, this is kind of what you get.
Oh, oops.
No, I mean, that's fine. That's fine. Because like you're still just using what's in the box, right? And
right.
There are people who are going to be like, oh no, I'm going to mix these paints. So like, I'm not trying to be like, I am superior in my beginningness of keeping to this challenge, but I am superior in keeping to this challenge.
In keeping to the challenge, yeah. Fair enough. We'll see if it even pans out. Like I said, oddly enough, when I did my first mix, I pretty much just made a different color that it was here.
Yeah.
Like almost exactly. Like it was not quite that, but it was very close.
But at least then those paints all go together, right? So that green is a good green, that red's a good green, or that red's a good red with that brown.
Yeah, it kind of is. Yeah. It's kind of nice, actually, right? Okay. So, yeah, I guess I'm gonna have to do like a mega Airbrush wash, which I didn't really want to do.
I figured that's kind of what we're gonna have to do anyway. Yeah. With the time limit that we have, I think that's honestly the best that we're gonna get.
Yeah, you're probably right. Now, one thing that is sort of cool, sword here. One thing that's kind of fun is that it is still a Citadel model. And in fact, if you had this in your army, either of your armies, and you painted them the same as your army, I don't think anybody would be like, is that the push fit paint one? Like nobody would know.
No, yeah.
Yeah, they're still very detailed. And to that point, what I'm kind of currently doing is this fun thing. Citadel likes to put these, like when they have armies that have like the cloth like stapled together, and they put the little metal staples in, and they do such a good job with these. When you wash over these, Wash just like loves to just like highlight the little staple. I love it. So I'm happy that that's there, and that's cool because if you're a young person kind of getting into this and you're trying out some of these techniques, that'd be so. I find it rewarding when Wash pulls around a staple. So like I'm excited. I'm actually excited for that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, there's something to be said about just good sculpts in general, right? They always make it just they make an experience that much better. Which is why, like, usually when people come into the store and they go, "Well, I want to get into this, but I don't know where to start." And my number one thing is, "Well, do you have a model that you want to paint? And if not, come back to me when you find a model that you want to paint."
And
Because
if not, can I interest you in a Tau Riptide?
and if not, can I interest you in Conquest? No, I'm just kidding. So it's usually like you want to pick a model that like is fun to paint, and these are genuinely fun to paint because of all the details and everything. That makes it really easy to just glide a brush down it with confidence, knowing that like, yeah, this is gonna look good, even though I'm not painting each and every single individual scale. I'm not highlighting everything up to a perfect white.
Right. Well, we do have some fan stuff.
Yeah.
We should get to fan stuff.
Oh, and I didn't want you to pick these ones out today, so these are going to be a surprise to me.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. Good. Here we go. Some fan stuff. So, I don't know. Super cool. I mean, I almost. Well, okay. Here's why I like this one. It looks like he's like made a little bit of a diorama, almost like with the base. I kind of can't tell if that's just how they took the picture. But some cool OSL, great black and like dark gray look. I like black and gold together. This is probably Black Legion.
Black, gold, and red, honestly, are my
Good.
favorite
It's like a good
color combination. It's just so edgy and like, it's just nice.
Yeah.
Red's my favorite color, so like, yeah.
Yeah, this is great.
I like it. I don't know what model this is, but it looks really, really, really cool.
Yeah, this
honestly.
is a Forge Fiend for Chaos armies, Chaos Space Marines. Heretic Astartes is actually what we call them nowadays.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It looks awesome. It looks really cool. It looks really menacing.
Yeah. It's nice.
Yeah, it's really well done. I like all the details and everything that's like picked out of it. It's nice. I like it. I like it all.
Sometimes there's fan stuff
I kind of want it.
Sometimes there's fan stuff that I pick and I'm like, it just looks. I don't know what to say. I just like it. It's good.
Look
it's well
at
done.
this.
Like I don't. There's nothing.
People need to see it.
Yeah. That was this one. Okay. Gotta slideshow. Click this real quick. There we go. Okay. Nice. Okay. Yeah. Some cool ones this week. This is. I bet the person who painted this one. Xenodrake. A bunch of us got to meet him. Bridger got to play a game with him at SoCal Open, and it's nice. I actually didn't know Xenodrake. If you're around, I didn't know you were playing Sigmar, and this is kind of this gruesome. Actually, for the army I'm painting, it's in the same army.
What army is it?
The orcs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. This guy's kind of got it's got like a Lord of the Rings vibe on with like the chain around the giant troll and
Yeah.
looks awesome. Xenodrake. These guys are cool too in game.
I just like the colors of. Is that a troll on the bottom?
Yes.
Okay. I really like the colors of the skin, and how it's not just like gray, or.
Yeah.
Whatever, like, because when I think of trolls, I think of like the trolls from The Hobbit, where it's like they're kind of like a grayish green almost, or like a grayish blue. So I like that a lot.
You mean William, Bert, and the trolls have the weirdest names. I can't remember the last one.
No idea.
Yeah, their names are like
idea.
William, Bert, and it might be John. Honestly.
Yeah, see, I'd rather watch Lord of the Rings than.
Oh my gosh! All right, Xenodrake. This looks great. Also looking great. Yeah, I think I just picked a lot of ones that just look good.
Yeah.
Yeah. This guy looks super cool.
I love the dust on the bottom of the cloak there.
Oh, yeah.
That's really nice. I like stuff like that.
The skin work on this was quite nice. The head.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, just it looks great. The sword is cool. Little kind of. It looks rusty from our TV, but just another great model. Okay, so somewhere there's going to be a specific reason. Oh,
Ooh, terrain.
yeah. So we haven't done some terrain in a while. Oh my gosh, I can't remember who painted this one, but whoever it was, it's somebody we've chatted with here before. And one thing I like about this, I actually don't usually pick out this many different color details on metal, but it is kind of fun to do. Typically, if I'm doing like a big chunk of metal terrain with like pipes and different pipes and different plates of metal and stuff like that. I usually only pick like 2 or 3 colors to work with. They've used a lot of colors here, and I think I like it actually. I'm usually skeptical of that, but it here looks good.
Yeah, usually when I'm painting terrain, it's like, well, I'm painting it for the store. It's going to get beat up anyway. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it. And so it's really cool when, anyone paints terrain, because then they can understand exactly how much work goes into it. But, if this is terrain, then that's great. If it's a diorama background, even better. But yeah, like I really enjoy when a scene is perfectly set. I like really well done terrain, which I know some people don't like because they want their models to stick out, but it's my terrain. I'm going to paint it how I want it. And
yeah,
so I would probably do something like this.
That's an interesting conversation in and of itself, but I think there's room for both in that you can make good terrain that lets well-painted models stick out. And frankly, it can be a call to arms for play groups. If you've got really good terrain and people are putting their not so hot painted models or not fully painted models on it, I don't know. I feel like we saw that a lot in Fault Line with all of the terrain and models that we had. And I'm not just, a lot of it was painted by me, but that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying like the other models and stuff too, and seeing everything painted and kind of feed off each other and up your game.
Right.
Train's a cool way to do that, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, also with the whole thing of like when you're playing against someone else's army and it's a well-painted army, it's like, oh, well, I kind of want to match that as well too. So then, you go back home and do some more work on it and you bring it back the next time and, it's better. So, yeah.
It also like if you want to just stomp somebody and your army's well painted, they have to at least be like, well, at least his army was well painted. Nothing's worse than getting stomped by gray plastic. Every war gamer knows that. Oh man, these guys look great. Unfortunately, our TVs are kind of dark, but this is a really good example of like models with dark armor that have lots of dimension, which is not always easy. I think you have to be at a certain skill level to pull that off. And there's a lot of dimension in these models, which again, quite dark.
Yeah, I know that the grim dark paint style has like really kind of exploded on the scene. A lot of people are really into it. And so when it's done really well, like it is here, it's like it's a lot of fun to look at.
Yeah. Really nice. These guys look great. Okay. Moving on. We've got so this is like some diorama, and I actually don't know what this is. Maybe somebody in chat or Kat, maybe you know what this is.
No.
It just looks well done. There's like a wolf. He's got a sword. There's other swords. I feel like somebody in chat's gonna harass me for not knowing what this is.
It kind of looks like a Zelda thing, but like without seeing everything else, it's a little hard to tell.
This was it. I didn't really cut anything out. It looks like I clipped it, but I really didn't. There were a few other pictures of it, but there weren't. It was just this wolf. Anyway, it looks great. So whatever it is, I like it.
Yeah. No, I'm a big fan of animals. A big fan of like when they're kind of like the key subject in a diorama. Like it doesn't always need to be a dude or a girl. Or a person in general, or even just like an alien figure, right? It doesn't have to be a humanoid, is kind of what I'm getting at. But yeah, I think it's fantastic. The model is really cool. I'd like to know, like,
Dark Souls, people were saying.
Oh, Pokemon reference. Oh, okay, yeah. I think multiple people are saying Dark Souls, but yeah. So yeah, I'd like to know who sculpted it as well too, because when I see some cool sculpts, I like to just see what else that sculptor has made. Because I'm into more niche models than like gaming stuff. Yeah.
Nice work. Oh, love this model. Sylvaneth is one of these armies that, like, when someone does it, it just looks crazy good. And no exception. Yeah, this looks incredible. The base is amazing. A lot of love put into the base. Yeah, I just love the Sylvaneth line in general, and I think it's a line that just takes well to good painting. I know that sounds kind of stupid to say, but well, it's a beautiful line, right? The orcs aren't a beautiful, like, you can paint an army, it can be beautiful, it can be an orc army, but like it's not inherently a line that, like,
you would call beautiful.
Yeah, you can get a cool look, or you can get a grim dark look or whatever, but like the Sylvaneth line just is a beautiful line.
Yeah, the Sylvaneth line and the Nighthaunt line to me are just beautiful. And so when done like to a higher level like this is, I think it really, really, really shines.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's one of those things where it's like, this is a gaming model, and so like, how far do you want to go with it? But then you can also just be like, oh, I'm painting it for this competition, and then I'm still going to use it in this. So, yeah.
Yeah, Kat, you're like got a foot in both worlds now. I'd be curious if you would ever just say like, hey, over the next 5 years of my life, I'm going to paint an army, every model to competition level. Maybe 10 years?
I've said it before. It gets to the point where then I just don't want to paint anymore, because you're painting with the same color scheme, you're painting with the same color palette, you're almost painting the exact same model.
Well, you'd have to take breaks from it. You know what I mean? You'd have to be painting other things too. So it would definitely be a slow burn,
Yeah, I don't know.
It's hard to wrap your head around.
It's also one of those things where, like, very much like how you wouldn't paint everything on a model up to like a level 10, right? Because then nothing sticks out to you.
I see.
It's similar to that with an army of you paint your characters to a level 10. You can paint those to be competition pieces.
Yeah.
And then you paint your infantry dudes to match it, but not be at that exact level.
Yeah. It is hard to fathom doing what I'm describing, and I don't think, like you're saying, it would even be.
I don't think it would look good.
It would even.
I don't think it would look good together. I think individually it would look great.
Right.
I don't think it would look good together.
Okay, nice white. Like it. Good white. Always impressive when people do white well. Cool blade guard models. I always like the blade guards cleaning a sword mid-battle. These guys look great. I'm guessing these are, these are pretty obviously white scars, I think. Yeah.
I was going to say, like, space wolves, right? But no.
I think they're white scars.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to know. I just saw, like, some dusting of, like, possibly snow. It might just be just the colors on the TV, but, yeah. I know. I think they look really cool. I like the brown cloth with the green sword and the very like pale armor. I think it's cool. It makes the sword stand out really, really well. So
these are blade guard, and that's like their thing is their sword, and so it's done a nice job drawing attention to the sword in a way that its own green thing on the model. I like this. Yeah, very nice. Very, very, very nice. Lots of cool stuff today. This guy's super cool. So just a test model, it's so grimdark and dusty.
It took a while for me to see where the head was, but
Yeah.
I'm also not familiar with the sculpt. No, I think this is great. I think this is like a really great example of like good grimdark. I'd like to see, what are those like little things off the side of his shoulders? Is that a jetpack?
No, all Marines have like this like backpack that has those. Yeah, it's not actually a jetpack.
Oh, okay.
I think it does kind of help them move, but
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd maybe like to see a little bit more emphasis on those because they just look kind of just like they're there. But I like the freehand on the tabard. I like everything else about it. I think that like it just fits so well. Even the basing, it just fits like that. It looks like that's the planet that it's standing on, right?
Yep.
It's not out of place at all whatsoever.
No, it's eerily in place. And to Kat's point, this the person who put this up was saying this was a test model for their army. I say go with it, but I do agree with Kat because these parts of the jetpack that stick out are also just like good focal points of like the kind of like triangle or like odd number 3 or 5 point theory of like putting light like in these in like one. And these go well with the face as one, which I think they've done, and then 2 on these things, and then like down at the tabard kind of, which would be 4. But still, I think this looks really good, and that is a good place to put highlights on any Marine. And Thousand Suns have these extra Baroque kind of packs that have them sticking out. Soups, super reedy, finished a Blood Bowl team. Looks good. He's finishing stuff fast. Soups, you're like cranking stuff out. Goblin green bases. You know what? I like goblin green bases for Blood Bowl.
Because they're playing on like a grass turf.
I think like in general, I'm like anti 90s GW, and like the aesthetic.
But this is.
But for whatever reason for Blood Bowl, fair to say I also don't play Blood Bowl, but for whatever reason, Blood Bowl seems like the game that should have the 90s.
Because it's a goofy game to begin with, right?
It's a goofy game, and I want my grognard friends to be able to just have their 90s, relive their gaming glory days. I don't think I'm describing Soups right now, but I like the goblin green bases for Blood Bowl. Otherwise, not a huge fan of goblin green bases.
Fair. Yeah, no, I like I mean, this is kind of an example of what I was talking about earlier of like when everything is together, they all kind of just meld into one. And so when you're painting them to like every single thing to such a high level, it gets lost on you a little bit when things are mushed together.
You know, one thing I don't understand, Soups, I don't know if you're still around. I think that's it. I think we did it. Yeah, awesome stuff this week, guys. One thing I never understood, Soups is British, and it came up actually recently.
Didn't understand that he's British?
No, I understand the concept of people being British. I don't understand, or I guess I'm a little surprised why, like, I've always been under the understanding that, like, American football is very not popular outside of the U.S. and, I guess, Canada and maybe Mexico, but even not those places as much. And Blood Bowl is not rugby, right? Lots of people have kind of like an assumption that it's more like rugby, but it is very much like American football in its rules and how it plays. Like a silly version of American football. But I'm always kind of surprised that it has translated, like, that people, that non-Americans are like, cool, this is a game, you know? I mean, I guess it is also a miniatures game.
I think it's also just the fact that it's satirical as well, too.
Yeah.
That plays into it.
I guess I'm almost surprised it even exists. I'm almost surprised Games Workshop made a game based off of American football.
Interesting.
Right? Like, because they're a British company. I guess I would assume they would have made it based off rugby. Or cricket. I mean, cricket's got that bat. You can run right at people and smash them with it. And you're not supposed to do that in real cricket, but in their version of the game, you could, right?
Probably.
Yeah, so I don't know. I guess I'm a little surprised. Hey, one thing I'll say real quick. I want to see how you're doing. I'm pretty happy with my choice to make a weird orc skin tone and then highlight it up with the normal green. I'll pass this to you, and we'll put it in your little zone, because here, this orc without the hood has not had his skin highlighted up yet.
Yeah.
And that guy has, and you can see a difference. So I think I would say that not something I'm not glad I did, if that makes sense.
You are glad you did it.
I am, yes.
Yes. Yeah. One thing that I find very funny here with the box, I just noticed it too, because I was like struggling on like what to paint the handle of the spear, is it doesn't really show you the color that it is on the back of the box.
He's turned the other way.
In this picture. And then in the picture below it, it's red. And there's no red in the box.
Well,
so I just thought that was really funny.
It's like very red. It's like a Mephiston red.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty funny.
Well, listen, I will say this, because
it is blue on the front of the box.
Okay,
so,
and then red on the back.
Yeah.
Okay. This overbrush, I'm doing overbrushing right now, right? Which is, it's like a variant on dry brushing. I'm not really dry brushing exactly. But I will say that it is the beginning of the end for my brush, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm slapping on some Agrax into places, and then I'm going to completely destroy my brush by dry brushing.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be there too shortly. I'm kind of trying to keep it together for this process, because it's not exactly like just straight on crazy dry brushing, but it's going to be soon, I think. Yeah, on the shield, I'm gonna do it. So, yeah, Kat and I kind of knew this was gonna happen. We kind of were like, we have to think about how we use the brush, because like the brush will not make it through the session.
Yeah, we kind of knew. Okay, we're gonna dry brush probably, which is going to destroy it. So we gotta paint these up to a point where then, okay, we don't need this brush anymore, and that's it.
So Kat and I actually have a list here that we want to share with you guys of things we think you would want to get next. But you know what, Kat, I actually forgot to talk about.
Okay.
Which is, other than some glue and some primer, what might, like, let's say you were painting with a young person and you were going to do this box. Mm-hmm. What else might you pick up the day of that's like not a huge investment? And for me, one of the things I was thinking right away was like the cheap brushes from Michaels.
Okay.
I might get some more just inexpensive brushes
yeah.
for things like dry brushing and stuff like that. Because I actually did a couple things out of order here. I wouldn't have minded actually doing some washing and dry brushing earlier, but I kind of had to temper how I did things because I only have one brush, right? What do you think? Anything come to mind?
I mean, paper towels. But it's also just mostly just because I know kids are messy. But I mean, other than that, like,
without getting into like crazy hobby gear, like what the only thing I can think of is, like I said,
just
is like
extra brushes.
Some Michaels brushes, some craft brushes. Would you get a white and a black paint maybe from like a craft store?
No, because I think there is a challenge for us, for people who know how to paint already, of limiting ourselves to what is in the box. But sometimes when you give people too much choice, it starts to become overwhelming. So no, like honestly, I other than just like more smaller brushes, right? Because like if I was going to be doing this with a younger person and teaching them how to paint, I would just be using one box, and so obviously one brush isn't good enough for two people. But other than that, honestly, like the kits aren't bad.
No,
they're not awful. I wouldn't choose to do more paints, because at that point then it's a learning lesson as well too, of like, oh, I wish I had this color. Okay, cool. Now I know I need to pick that up.
Or like, if the kid is like, boy, I wish I had this color.
Yeah.
And the dad's like, well, I wish I had an Alfa Romeo. Seth's laughing. Off camera.
Yeah, those things are related.
Right. It's not, in my scenario, it's not a good dad.
No, this sounds like an awful dad. But maybe I'll be that dad. So
yeah. Yeah. I think I'm going to. It's funny because one of the things about doing this is like, if this was my army and this was one of my dudes, I'd be like, oh boy, I'm a little embarrassed to put this on camera. But with the freedom we have here of with like our arm behind our back, I'm kind of like, well, did what I could.
This is what we got.
This is what we got. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of okay with how it's coming out. I'm happy with the skin. I'm glad I didn't have to wash the skin in Agrax Earthshade. Because I want something that's not washed in Agrax Earthshade, because I will be honest with you, I do not like when people do these kind of armies like orcs or undead or something like that, and one of the final processes is the equivalent of a dip into a wash.
Yeah.
I think it just turns to me, you've just made a piece of terrain. You've just made a piece of walking terrain. You know what I mean? So I wanted something, it was important to me that something not be just covered in Agrax Earthshade. Yeah,
and so I'm washing down the armor right now in very select places. Like the armored abs here, I'm putting a wash on because that would be in shadow.
Yeah.
I'm putting a wash like in the crevices behind the knees and, you know, on the bottom of the thighs and stuff, because like I can't make this gold darker, and that's all I have, and so I'm trying to paint in shadow with that Agrax.
I'm doing this. I think the same thing on their faces. I am going in and like touching in Agrax like around the eye socket and like some of their cheeks and stuff like that.
Oh, I like the way that I painted this is I painted the faces with the side of my brush, and so like I still have like some good definition on the face and stuff. Yeah, so I didn't completely cover places of it with gold on purpose, so that I still have some dimension. But
so this is important because basically what Kat's saying is that she had another color, which is
black. Yeah.
So she cheated, but in a good way.
Well, I didn't mix my paints. So.
That's true. So you had a bonus color, and I had a million bonus colors, but all very similar to all the colors I already had.
You mixed a paint that you already had, and then mixed it again.
And then I remade. I had basically 4 paints, and the first thing I did was take 2 of them and remake one of them.
Yes.
Which is totally unnecessary. Okay, cool. So let's see where I'm at here. I'm going to do a little bit. Yeah, I think I'm ready to destroy the brush officially and make a dry brush, which is scary. I don't actually know what color. Oh, I guess I'm going to just dry brush the very Agrax Earthshade washed shield with the red that was under it.
I almost wish that they gave me like a, I think it's, what is it, like Stormhost Silver or something? Just a lighter silver color than Leadbelcher, because Leadbelcher's so dark.
Yeah.
That like I've had to wash it a couple times in order to like get it to come to a point where like there is even some sort of dimension to it. So that when I do dry brush over it, that it does look like I've highlighted it in a way.
Right. Okay, well, before I turn this into a dry brush, this is what I've been resisting doing. I have to do it. I have to wash silver with Agrax Earthshade. It's not a look I like.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you.
Yeah. So Nuln would have been preferred, I think.
Yeah, for me at least. I mean, lots of things, honestly. Even a different, even like a different brown, like just to have something different. But again, because I really dislike the whole like, hey, I'm all muddy in Agrax Earthshade look. I dislike the Agrax that just like, hey, today I'm wearing Agrax Earthshade on top of my skin. Sliding into my skin.
You slide into that Agrax, and then you slide into whoever's DMs, right?
Yeah.
We're just sliding everywhere.
Just like skin, Agrax,
DMs. Yes.
Yeah. And I don't actually like doing that.
The Agrax or the DMs or both.
And all 3 of these things. All 3 of these things. The skin. Oh my gosh, the idea of having to put skin on every day.
Yeah, it's a thing, I guess.
I'm not against the idea of being able to sleep in a giant vat of petroleum jelly. It seems like it could be comfortable.
There's a Netflix show. God, I wish I remembered the name of it. Where like yourself is like a little disc in the back of your neck, and then you can like transfer yourself between all these different worlds, and like that's your sleeve.
Oh, okay.
It's a really good Netflix show. I would highly recommend. I wish I remembered the name of it.
Seth, you know? Is it Altered Carbon?
Altered Carbon.
I was
Yeah.
wondering if it was Altered Carbon. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not as grotesque, but it's kind of similar. You gotta slide your disc into your sleeve, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we've learned a lot here. Now look, just so you know, we've got really only about 10 minutes left.
Yeah.
How are you feeling?
I gotta retouch some gold because it dried a little bit patchy in places, but
Okay.
other than that,
I think it's
done.
okay if we don't do the mud. I think everyone's going to know what's going to happen when we do the mud.
Yeah.
And by the way, as a joke, we joked about doing the bases first. If you do this, don't do the bases first. This stuff ruins your brush, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't do it with the brush at least, because we do have some like coffee stir sticks.
We
and
had some
stuff like
coffee
that, yeah.
stirrers. They don't come in the box, but we assume that people would have something like this, right?
Or like if like you can use your hands as well too.
Yeah.
You know, just wash your hands. But yeah, don't do it with the brush first. And then also don't do it if you're going to be painting, like if you're going to be using the bases to hold your models. Just do it last.
That's
Yeah.
actually what happened. Is I was like, hey, we should do this now
and take off
and let it dry.
models. Yeah.
And then I realized I want to hold the model by the base.
Mm-hmm.
Look, actually, I think my brush is like not bad. I don't think I do have to destroy it. So, well, now I'm gonna dry brush. It's like it's actually like held up until now. I'm sad actually that I now kind of do have to destroy it. Okay, well here we go. I think the shield is kind of for me gonna be like the focal point. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's the giant red thing that they're carrying, and everything else is pretty drab.
Yeah.
So I am, oh yeah, here we go. Look at this. Okay. Ooh, I do want to get the teeth a different color. I can make brown teeth. Okay.
Yeah, trying to highlight this like a scale mail, you know, around their waists and stuff. With lead belcher.
Yeah, lead belcher, not a lead belcher
Yeah.
is usually what I'm highlighting all like
From.
From,
Yeah,
right. Rune Fang steel or
yeah. Yeah, storm host, right? That's a silver.
Storm host I think is one.
Yeah, so I had to wash it down pretty heavily with Agrax, and now I'm just going back over and just hitting like little tips of it and stuff.
Now, as Ken and I finish up here, we did put together some thoughts about if you took this home and you did it yourself, which by the way, again, I think like if you're, I feel like here in Silicon Valley, like all these like, we have so many tech workers here and so many of them like get like reconnect with like, they get their job, they get their career going, and then they're like, oh, when I was a kid, I played this game. I want to play this game again, but this time I'm an adult and I want to be better at painting or whatever. So if you are one of those people who is reconnecting with your childhood because you played, but you want to paint better. Or maybe you've got a kid, 10, 12-year-old or something, and you've done this with them. We were actually thinking not like what models would you paint next, because that would be anything really that you wanted to, but what would you want to get next?
Yeah.
Right? So we made a list of what we thought. So some of these seem like we're being rude, like better brushes and more paints, but we're going to talk a little bit about these, right?
Yeah.
So where would you, we've actually talked significantly about brushes today.
Yeah, thanks
already.
to the super chat.
Do you need, and don't, I don't know if you think the answer is yes, because I don't know. Do you think you want that Winsor Newton early on?
It depends. It depends. What are you trying to hope like to get out of miniature painting, right? Are you trying to get immediately into competition painting and you just want to really push yourself as much as possible? Then get a Winsor Newton. You know if you're going to take care of it, then that's great. Obviously, if you can afford a Winsor Newton, then get a Winsor Newton.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
Like I'm always a proponent of, if you can afford something that will feel like it makes things go a little better for you when you're trying to get into something, then coddle yourself in that way. Treat yourself in that way, right?
Spoil yourself.
Spoil
Yes.
yourself
Yeah.
in that way.
Treat yourself.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Do it, right? But if you are just getting into it, either just to paint some minis so that you can play, whatever game you want to play, and you're not necessarily super concerned with the quality that you're putting out, right? You're not looking for it to be like a competition piece. Then don't get a Winsor.
Or even a few steps beyond that, I'll be honest, guys, because that's where I sit. I'm not doing competition pieces, but I do want my armies to look good.
Right.
And I want to have a chance at winning Best Painted Army when I go to anything I go to, quite frankly. So if you, even if I know I won't win, I don't want to be like up there.
You want to have a shot.
Right. I don't want to be up there in a table and people are like, what is this guy thinking? You know what I mean? So like that's kind of my litmus test for my level.
Yeah.
And so I would agree with that, but I would say, like, even if you do kind of care about your output, but yeah, to Kat's point, you're not saying like, cool, I want to be like a super awesome painter right away and winning competitions, blah blah blah.
It depends on what you want to get out of your painting. If you want to achieve a higher level, maybe you got inspired by someone that you saw their piece and like you were like, wow, I didn't know that miniature painting could get to this high of degree.
Yeah.
Then that'd be great. If you just want to paint your bases you just want to paint your minis because you want painted minis on the table and you're just concerned about playing.
Yeah.
But it's part of the score to have painted models, right? Then,
yeah.
Obviously you don't have to then invest a ton of money into really nice brushes.
I think then those workhorses, some of those workhorses we talked about, like some of the synthetics and are good. Now the second one we have here on this list is a wet palette, and this is what I said I was missing today, and this is what you said. The 1 and 2 were what we both said as soon as we walked in and asked this question.
Like, dang.
And so if we made a top 2, it would be these top 2. It would be
Yes.
better brushes and a wet palette.
Yeah, these two were no-brainers, right? Like
Yeah.
when it was like, okay, come up with 5, it was immediately these two, and then it was like, okay, what next? But yeah, a wet palette to me, when I started painting, I just used a paper plate as my palette, and that works, right? Like anything that's like this, like I would honestly use this as a palette as well too.
Yeah, she's talking about the insert that came with these.
And I would use anything, but like paper plates were usually the more readily available to me. And it was fine. You can thin your paints on a paper plate. You can, make glazes and do stuff like that on a paper plate. But the thing about it is that, you can see here, everything is dry. And so if I wanted to go back to a color, I'd have to open up the pot again, put more stuff down, or, open up the dropper bottle, put more paint down, and it was starting to waste paint.
Which I'm literally doing, is literally what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, it was starting to waste paint, and I didn't want that. And also you can find that like the consistency of your paint when you mix it on a wet palette is just silkier in a way. It's smoother.
For me, it's about consistency. Like I feel like I can, like I was saying earlier in the day, like I started to learn what consistency I could get with this thing, but with a wet palette, I feel like I feel like I can get that. I don't know. I feel like I know what's gonna happen with a wet palette.
Right.
A little bit more. Are you done?
I am.
You finished before me.
I did.
Wow.
I didn't mix paints though. So, yeah.
Fair point. I spent too much time mixing paints. Okay, so we had a few more though. We had brush cleaner conditioner.
Yeah. And we talked about this before earlier as well too, of taking care of your brushes. Even if they are synthetic, you always want to make sure that you're rinsing them out, you're cleaning them, you're doing everything that you can, so that way when you go to paint again, you don't then have to buy new brushes every single time. So keeping your brushes clean is really important. I like to use the unicorn goop from Monument Hobbies.
Oh yeah, I haven't used that.
Yeah, I like that one a lot. I think the one that comes in the Artist Opus brush kits and brush boxes and stuff is okay. It's not bad as far as brush soap goes, but I find that it's not the best brush conditioner. The unicorn goop is kind of best of both worlds, I feel.
Okay. I use the, actually I don't know where it is, that it's called like the Masters brush cleaner. And
Yeah, you put it like
Oh,
up
it's up
here
there.
somewhere. Yeah.
yeah. I like this. This one's been good. I think we randomly ordered this one. And it's also good. I want to try the unicorn one actually.
Yeah, I like the
If
unicorn
not for
one.
anything, its marketing was cute.
It's cute. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's got cute packaging, which is honestly how it got me to begin with, but I just like anything with unicorns in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, hobby storage and organization. This was one you tossed out, but I think almost more so for like, I was thinking more for transport. What do you think? Why is this high up on your list?
To me, I'm just really big on organization to begin with. And we talked about my little colorful bands on my paints.
Right.
But it's also a thing where like, it's almost a routine when you go to like put your brushes away, when you go to take your brushes out.
Yeah.
There's different steps that you can take in order to then be like, okay, cool. When I take my brush out of my brush holder, I need to rinse it with water because it has conditioner in it and stuff. And then when you go to put it back, I'm not going to put it back in this case.
Right.
Unless I fully clean it out, unless, I do all this other stuff. And it helps you not lose things. But two, it helps make sure that your stuff is in good condition.
I like the routine aspect of what you said. I like whenever I can like set something aside and then work on it here at the studio, work on it. I have like a little area I work at home, but I like to also be able to like sit out with Megan and watch something, right? So
Right.
like if I can move my little station around and it's serving as like transport and storage, that's big, especially like if you had a kid. I think like if you had like a 10-year-old, that would be big.
I don't know, but
I'm imagining. I've taught a lot.
Yeah.
I think the answer is yes.
I
Like,
mean, I used to be a nanny too, so I get it.
Yeah.
But it's also like, and I move my paints around constantly. Like my paint stuff is mobile. Like I don't have a set paint station, and so in order to be able to go to all these different stores and then set up my paint station, to have everything be organized and neat, and also in like a solid pen box is where I keep all of my brushes and stuff, because I don't want them to get bent. I don't
Right.
want to have what happened to your paintbrush happen to mine. So
what happened?
you snapped yours.
Oh, yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
was being silly, right?
Yeah.
But yeah,
So,
yes, of
yeah.
course. And really quick, Michael Cody, the answer to that question is sometimes yes, right? You can leave conditioner on a brush. At least this Masters one, it even and you mentioned, right, leaving it overnight or whatever.
Yeah, even the unicorn goop stuff, like you use it as soap, you rinse it out and everything like that, and then you wet it again, you coat it in your brush, you form your tip, and then you put it away. And so leaving your brush with conditioner in it overnight is almost similar to like deep conditioning your hair.
Right.
So yeah, the longer it stays in, the better it does. There is a point there where it will just dry, and then it doesn't
too
do
long.
anything.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt it. I've
yeah.
actually left. I left a few over break, old ones, and I came back and they were rock solid. But I ran through water.
You just
and they
rinse
were
them
fine.
out. Yeah.
And then the last one's more paints. I guess more paints is largely going to be if you decide to take on a specific project.
Or if you just decide to just continue as well too.
Yeah. So
right?
in that case, what without going like deep into brand names and stuff, what are 5 paints that you that's hard. I know that's hard to say. Like 5 paints, everyone's like non-oil comes to mind, right? For me.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I almost don't know. Lead Belcher, maybe.
Like
Which you would already have.
Yeah, I would get a solid white because Korax is actually kind of like a gray in color. So I would get a solid white.
Like a neutral white.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's just like a pure white, a pure black, a pure
Which we don't have.
No,
Didn't come
yeah.
with this. Yeah.
A pure yellow, pure blue, because this is kind of like, you know, I would get your primaries.
White and black.
You can kind of get your tertiaries.
Yeah.
And then a light silver and just a neutral gold, right? Because this is kind of very coppery in a way. So it's nice, but it doesn't give you a whole lot.
What is a neutral gold? Like, what's an example? Because you say that, and I know what you're talking about, but now I'm thinking about both the Citadel and Turbo Dork lines.
Yeah.
And it's like they don't make a neutral gold.
No.
Everything's got like one way or the other,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
The Artis Opus one. Not Artis Opus. The
Monument Hobbies?
No, sorry. The Artis Acrylic that we like. That you
Oh, the Abtulung.
Abtulung.
Yeah.
I got a gold from them that I
Yeah.
guess is.
Yeah, that would be like a neutral gold. So anything that like isn't super white or orange, and it falls under that really like pretty. It's not super yellow. It's not super white. It's not super orange. It's not super red.
Right.
That's like a good neutral gold. And then like a lighter silver. So like this is really dark. This is also very brown as well too.
Lead belcher,
Yeah. So just like a, you know, get your good neutrals, because in that way you can mix whatever color you want to mix. And then if you feel like I don't want to mix, then, you know, you can get whatever color you want to
shun your mixing.
Yeah.
The mixing, right. I think we did it. Oh, did we look at these?
No.
No. Okay. We was left without looking at them. Okay, here we go. So there's Cats, Stormcast, Eternal, Vindictors. The white came out great. Did you do something around the white? Did you do something around? I know it's blue, but did you like?
No.
It looks like okay.
Yeah, it's just solid. Like I painted the gold first, and then I went in with the blue, and I literally just slapped blue on the shoulder pads and then over the shield where the gold isn't, and then over the entire shield, over the white, over the gold in the middle, everything like that, because I didn't want to have to like pick out anything. And then I went in with the white, and you can kind of see on that particular shoulder, on the white, I just kind of globbed it on because it's a little face, but like it's a little hard to pick out with not like a fine brush. So I just globbed it on there. And then I went back in and put the golds back in on the middle of the shield.
Yeah. I think we did a good job. I'm happy with how these came out.
Yeah.
So this was 2.5 hours, but frankly, I think you could have done a unit of your guys. I think is 3, maybe 5. I think you could have done 5 in another half hour at the same level. How, like you wouldn't have had a lot of like extra time doing. It wouldn't have doubled the amount of time.
Yeah.
Right. Like because you're doing the same process.
Yeah. It wouldn't. I don't think it would have made that much of a difference. It's just the time it takes to slap paint on, really.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. This is great. I'm pretty happy with these. How did it feel to paint something this fast?
It was fun. It was a challenge. It was a challenge. And I knew that I could probably get it done really quickly with this. I think when it comes to what takes me so long is that I always then go, well, I want to do this next step and I want to do this next step.
Right.
And like being limited with just this stuff and like just this one brush, just this palette.
Yeah.
There isn't really a whole lot of next steps I could do. I probably could have mixed the blue and the white together to get some like nice shading on the shoulders.
Right.
But actually with the sculpts of these, because there's the white, the raised parts on both of the shoulders, it honestly probably would have taken away from that white. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think they pick good models for this. So this is a good kit. I would recommend this, to be honest with you. I would. And if you're a seasoned hobbyist and you wanted to start one of these 2 armies, I would recommend it because, frankly, the paints it's a good batch of paints. I like Citadel base. And you get Agrax, which is like, you can always use Agrax.
Yeah, I think the only paint that I had issue with was my Korax,
Yeah.
and it was a little bit dry in the pot. It just had some chunks, but like I was able to pick around it. It's okay. But that's notorious with these paint sets is because, you know,
These sit a while.
They come out with them and they sit a while.
There's
so.
a million of them. Yeah, and you would have, you'd have thinner and stuff.
Yeah.
Awesome, Kat. Thank you. So let's talk about next week. You won't be here. You're getting ready for LVO stuff.
Yeah.
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 I think I'll be here. I think with Adrian or Brad. I actually don't know. Actually, I have no idea what's happening next week. We do know that there are some cool armies coming out that are popular around here, as you guys know, that GW has been teasing. So that might be part of the picture. Other than that, no clue.
Fun.
So we'll see you probably after LVO at some point.
Yeah,
soon.
in February.
And either to do the 40K version of this or to do the version where you are, I think we said, blindfolded or
Something.
or sick or drunk or something. And have
Yeah, I will try and get very sick.
Okay. And then but then you can use all the stuff you want. That'll be fun. Awesome, guys. Thank you for joining us. As we like to say, be kind to each other, be kind to yourself, and always be creating.